Welcome to the Jamal Thomas Morning Show. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is indeed my show. I am happy that you could be with me on the show. As I always point out, wherever you are under the sound of this voice. And so you have my deepest appreciation for being. So you could be anywhere this morning. Not going to be let's say a location misogynist. I don't think that's the right word for it, but you get my point. Wherever you are, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, wherever you are, even on the other side of the globe, if you're under this voice, you have my appreciation for being. So you could be anywhere, and you just so happen to find yourself here. I thank you for it. There is a lot of news that is taking place. I think the biggest news, of course, is going to be the Alaska Summit, the virtual meeting that took place between the Europeans and Donald Trump and Zelensky. Zelensky apparently rushed to Germany to take part in the virtual summit. It is the funniest thing in the world to me when European leaders who just got bullied by Donald Trump in regards to a trade negotiation with von der Leyen being bought there like a Roman, captive in a cage where they were throwing eggs and whatnot at her, have demands. That's so adorable, right? You have demands. Oh, ain't that cute? Ain't that cute? You have no power in this process to have any demands at all. If you need somebody to make you feel good, fair enough. I am not that guy. You have no power in this process to have demands at all. But whatever, they have their demands. They gave their demands to Trump. And like some woke lefty, Trump made them feel seen, like they were on some episode of Discovery. So Trump comes out and becomes more boisterous. He becomes tougher. And again, I even find this to be utterly absurd. If Trump had power to be this aggressive, tough guy, then Taco wouldn't have backed away from the 50-day negotiation and then the 10-day negotiation and then begging and screaming that he wants to go meet, which it was him that sent Witkoff because he needed to go meet because he had no power in the process. And passing those secondary tariffs would have been detrimental to the United States, especially after the stupid tariff war that he's decided to have against the entirety of the world. I'm trying to point out that a Ukrainian military that is fundamentally collapsing on the battlefield, a trade war that is going to have detrimental consequences to the United States, not just in April, but going forward. You can look at the trade data yourself. He has no power. You have no cards. But if you need to talk tough, talk tough. We'll see what happens on Friday, I suppose. My man is here. I want to bring him in. We are joined, if I can get it. There we are. Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Wilmer Leon. He is radio host, political scientist, and nationally syndicated columnist, host of Connecting the Dots on YouTube. How you doing, man? You doing okay today?
I'm doing great. Nobody has thrown a wrapped Subway sandwich at me like some protesters in D.C. did. So I'm doing fine.
A protester threw a Subway sandwich at you?
No. At a cop in D.C. That's what I'm saying. Nobody,
that's fine. He might have been hungry.
Yeah.
He might have ordered that. We don't really know.
But he's now been charged with a felony.
Really?
Yeah.
Then why did the cop order the sandwich?
Well, maybe he got one he didn't order. Right in his chest.
You can't. I wish somebody would throw a sandwich at me, especially if I was hungry. I'm doing you a favor. All those homeless people in DC, those people will be happy if you get a sandwich thrown at them. The DC, first of all, I'm glad you're doing okay. Thank you for joining me. I was going to start with the Trump and Alaska thing, but since you started with the cops in DC, I take special interest in this because I lived in DC for like 3-4 years. There's I think it was CNN. Yeah, I think this is CNN. CNN, actually, MSNBC, I'm sorry, MSNBC. I can't really say MSNBC did good work because, this is just clock broken. But this is something they did that was good. So, Donald Trump, as normal, often likes to go out and give numbers that are always wrong. They're always wrong. Anytime Donald Trump is giving you a number, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's temperature. It is usually wrong. And he comes out, like when he went out with Jerome Powell that time, and he tells Jerome Powell, he says, "Hey man, you have spent all this money." Jerome Powell looks at it and says, "This is wrong. This is wrong. You're combining multiple things that don't even apply and things that have already been paid for." That is his MO, right? So when Trump comes out and he says, "Well, DC's crime is so bad," and again, DC's crime is bad, but we're talking about whether there's some kind of dramatic increase in crime that demands you to put military on the ground in DC almost as a test case, like you did in California, seemingly that you may do around the rest of the country, something that people should be far more visceral about. They put up a stat as Trump is giving these nonsense stats. Listen to looking
double and triple. And when you say take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is okay. The red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these. Baghdad we doubled up on Baghdad. Panama City, Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica.
Now, just to be very clear, these are countries. These are countries. These aren't states. These aren't districts. These are anything else. I don't even know if those numbers are true. I have a hard time believing that Sao Paulo or some of these other, let's say the rougher areas of Brazil, like those, what do they call them? The FIFAs or whatever they call those things?
Favelas.
Thank you. There's no way that you're telling me that DC's crime is equal to one of the favelas. They're just not. I've been to Brazil. They're not. This is nonsense. And MSNBC puts the little thing. In the US, violent crime down 4.5%. In DC, 26%. 26% in comparison to 4.5% in the entirety of the US. Homicides down 14.9% in the US, down 12% in DC. Robberies down 8.9% in the US, 28% in DC. What is he talking about?
He doesn't know.
No, he don't know.
And to be fair, there is some question about whether or not there is some question about the accuracy of those DC numbers. The question is more of degree as opposed to crime in DC, from what they say, is down as it is across the country. It may not be down to the degree that those numbers are indicating, but it is down, not up. So they're still trying to work through that issue with a particular police captain that may have been playing with the numbers. But
fair enough. I accept that. I even accept that. As I was pointing out to one of my guests, I was like, look, DC is a violent city. It's not Chicago, but it is a violent city. I've lived there, right? That I would hear gunshots all the time. You just get used to them. There were people who would I remember there were on at least 2 or 3 occasions, people were killed outside of the clinic that I used to go to. I don't doubt that there's crime in DC. Donald Trump is acting like, oh my God, this is some kind of new phenomena. And this is some kind of thing that requires military on the ground in the United States, which I find to be nonsense. We have cops for a reason. If you need to add more cops, add more cops. The idea that you're putting military is insane to me. But if you disagree with me, tell me.
For me, the bigger issue is you're not dealing with the source of crime.
That too.
You're not even discussing, because as a social scientist, as a political scientist, we know that the most significant contributor to crime is poverty.
Yes, and he can't say that.
He can't say that.
No.
And and you are talking about crime in a city where the largest employer is the federal government, and you've just cut the size of the federal government workforce, sending a whole bunch of people into unemployment.
Yes.
So if crime is related to poverty, one of the things that contributes to poverty is the lack of education. Well, you just cut the Department of Education. I mean, there are so many. We don't know about the labor numbers because you just fired the director of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Because he didn't like the numbers.
Because he didn't like the numbers. So there's so much wrong with him, and there's so much wrong with this that it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
You didn't even touch cutting SNAP benefits.
No.
You didn't even touch cutting Medicaid.
No.
Oh, and you didn't even touch when the big, quote unquote, big, beautiful bill where it's going to hit the poor more than any other demographic, meaning
all of
the
that.
top,
Correct.
the bottom two. Like,
right.
But billionaire who doesn't really care, who's a sociopath, doesn't really care about human beings, can't really bring up the fact that the issue is poverty. So we're going to treat this like it's a police issue as opposed to getting to the root of it. That level of competence, I have no expectation that Donald Trump is ever going to have. And by the way, I don't have that level of belief that Democrats either. They would just prefer people living on the streets. It's like this idea that Democrats will have is, well, I can't believe Donald Trump is removing people off the streets. We should keep those people on the streets. Okay, both of these things are problematic to me.
And why are so many people on the street? Well, we can go all the way back to Ronald Reagan and the deinstitutionalization of American citizens. The rise in homelessness went up dramatically after the Reagan administration. Right. And you've cut the benefits for veterans. You've cut veterans benefits. What happens when you cut veterans benefits? More veterans wind up on the. So he's part of. I say this all the time. He's not the causation of so much of this. He's the culmination of so much of this. We are seeing the results of policies that were implemented over the years. He is exacerbating a lot of the problems, but he's the culmination of so much of this. And the other thing too, tell me if you see a pattern here. He sends the troops into Los Angeles. The mayor of Los Angeles is an African-American female, Karen Bass. He sends the troops into Washington, D.C. The mayor of Washington, D.C., and Washington is the only city in this country not tied to a state. He sends the troops into D.C. The mayor is an African-American woman, Muriel Bowser. He's talking about sending troops into Oakland, California. The mayor of Oakland, California is, now I forgot the sister's name.
It's okay.
Former Congresswoman. Yeah. I forgot. Anyway, so he seems to have cities that are run. He's talking about Chicago. That's an African-American man in Chicago. So he seems to be targeting cities run by Democrats, run by African-Americans, and seemingly primarily African-American women.
If you're trying to say that Trump is racist, yes.
That's the conclusion that you came to? Oh, okay.
That is the conclusion I came to, yes. I was there a while ago. The notion that you get into office as president and your first thing is that we need to go after the AfricanAmerican Museum. Okay, that's a little weird. You have a million things that you can be doing as president of the United States, and this is the thing that you decide that you want to focus your attention on. Then I have to say, why are you focusing your attention on that particular thing, right? Like my there was a I think it was a woman. Yeah, I think it was a woman. It might have been a woman or a guy. I don't remember. But she's walking on the street holding a sign saying, "Don't vote for Obama because Obama supports gays or gay marriage." And I was super curious because I kept thinking to myself of all the things that you as a religious person are out here fighting for. You are out here fighting against gay marriage. And it's like, okay, why this? Like if you think of all the things that are associated with religion, making sure, taking care of the poor, taking care of the infirm, taking care of the sick. And her thing is, yeah, but those gays. That's super interesting, right? Like you're making a choice. You're making a choice out of multiple things. You could say, well, I don't like Obama on this issue,
Mm-hmm.
but he's trying to give healthcare. And I think healthcare is something that's associated with religion. Okay, that I get, right? But you're making a choice. And I'm saying the same thing is true for Trump. You come into office and you make a choice. Your choice is we got to go after this AfricanAmerican Museum. I don't like the fact that they have it. It makes me feel bad about myself as a racist person. Okay. Tell me who you are. I believe you.
Barbara Lee is the mayor of Oakland.
That's what I thought, but I didn't want to say it because I didn't. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm sorry, Mayor Lee. I drew a blank on your name.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? She was the one sole vote against the Iraq war. How dare you?
I'll say her name 3 times throughout the day to make up for that. And final point on this, man, that damn Janine Pirro, she's got to go.
She is nuts.
She's a yapper. Janine Pirro, just shut up.
She's a weirdo. God, she's a weirdo.
Man. So long as she has Donald Trump standing behind her, she's the smallest one in the schoolyard, talking all of the trash because her older brother is standing behind her. Oh, she's nauseating. Oh,
it's just like the administration from idiocy, right? That's what it puts me in mind of. Like, I don't even know if we saw the entirety of administration from idiocy, but I get the sense that if we did, it would look like Pirro, Hegseth, Rubio. Like it would kind of look like that.
In the words of that brilliant African-American philosopher George Clinton, a school of foolfish. And also, folks, what this really is, I believe, it's a test run for martial law. That's what LA, DC, possibly Oakland and Chicago, because he's declaring states of emergency.
Mm-hmm.
He said about Los Angeles, if I didn't send the troops into Los Angeles would have, I don't know, burned down or whatever the heck he said. In DC, he's talking about a public safety emergency. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime. He talks about crime, savagery, filth, and scum will disappear. That to me sounds eerily reminiscent of a guy who wrote this book called, what was it called? Mein Kampf, I think was the name of the book, where he refers to Jews as vermin.
Mm-hmm.
The language is very, very similar and very, very racist.
It's also a test run for civil war.
Well,
because
yes,
the moment that you lose credibility and legitimacy, and let's be honest, Donald Trump has no credibility at all. Like, I don't know anybody. There are random people somewhere where you throw a rock and there's some random that makes, hey man, he's playing 5-dimensional chess. Okay, that's a rando, right?
On a 3-dimensional board with checkers.
The average person has no belief in what Trump says. He lies easily as he breathes, right?
And here's a question.
Go for it.
My dear friend Tom Porter asked this question on my show yesterday, or it's going to air on Saturday. He said, what are the black police officers going to do? What are the black soldiers going, National Guard? Which side of the line of oppression are they going to stand on when the stuff hits the fan? When, and heaven forbid, when the bullets start flying, which side of the argument are they going to be on?
Which side
And
are
I
they
don't
on
know.
now?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I think that's a question that needs to be asked.
What side are they on now?
Well,
Functions of the state.
they are function as Amiri Baraka would tell you. They are functionaries of the United States government.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I mean, look, I could be wrong, and it's not like I'm saying I don't want black cops. It's not that. Obviously, it's a job. And you want someone who do a good job. Like the last thing you want are a bunch of lunatics working on the force. And I've seen like black cops. I am one of those people who like interrogations. I've seen good black cops where they would turn in their white colleagues. They would say, "Hey, you need to call this person because that meth, is off the rails." I've seen that take place. That I approve of. That I want. I want.
I'm related to good black cops.
Yeah.
And there was a time in my life when I wanted to be a cop.
Interesting.
And if that had worked out, I hope I would have been a good black cop. So I feel you. I'm with you.
By the same token, at the point where the state gets involved and decides to do something that is well beyond the pale, let's be honest. What Donald Trump is doing here, it may be within his power to do, but it's not entirely legal. Like it's if you were dealing with an ideal government that was honest, just, and the president had powers to say, well, yeah, we can call martial law when we need to declare martial law. But they're usually provisions that discern that. It's not the president just wakes up one morning and said, I need to hide and dodge from Epstein because I'm a pedophile, a raging pedophile, and I don't want anybody to know about it. So I need to, do anything in my power to cover for this. And so I'm going to declare some kind of provision and send the military onto the grounds of DC or California or whatever else. Those are different things. And so, yeah, you can push the envelope in a way that people aren't going to push back on something like this, even though they know what you're doing is obviously not on the level. But there is a point where they realize this is too far. And the catch becomes, what is that point, right? Is it we're going to send military to all of these different cities that I don't particularly like because I'm Donald Trump? And then you get to this other interesting thing. Where does the public go? Now, I've just watched the public around the world watch a genocide take place. And you could see the mechanics of people contorting themselves into, well, this is different. This is something else. Oh, I know we're starving 2.8 million people, but it's not that, it's not the same thing. Hamas is everywhere. That baby was wearing a Hamas shirt. So that baby was fair game and dangerous. Like, you can see the mechanics. You don't have to be, for all those people who wondered what is it like in Nazi Germany when people just kind of bent over. You see it take place in your kind of societies. You see it take place in the way it propagates. Okay, what does it look like in the States? And I know some people say, I think Jamal is being hyperbolic. I don't think I am. The president of the United States has decided to send military in U.S. cities for shits and giggles. Not because there was a riot, not because anything had changed, not because anything different took place. You have a valiant country. It wasn't, it was like that before you got here. So
that's how it was founded.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to find that picture of Janine. Oh, here it is. This God answer prayers. Lord answers prayers.
You prayed for this? Be careful what you pray for, because you might get it.
She might show up, right? She may appear. It's like Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Oh, I can't play the music on it. This is the funniest thing in the world to me. Is this really her? It looks like her. God, I hope it's her. That is the funniest thing in the world to me. I don't know if that's her. It looks so much like her. I'm not going to say it is. I'm just going to say it's funny. I got to get your take on. By the way, again, not saying that's her.
Right.
Not saying that's her. Don't want people yelling at me. It just looks like her, and it would be funny if it was.
It looks like her twin sister.
Yes. It'd be funny if it was. Let's talk about Alaska for a bit. Let's talk about Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska. And I don't mean just random. I mean this whole Trump Putin powwow summit. This is funny to me on so many levels. Donald Trump beats his chest, 50 days. He's going to get 50 days. And then when it becomes clear, oh my God, Ukraine is being routed in Donbass, and they are literally collapsing with multiple cauldrons taking place. And it's being done in a way where the moment that they take Pokrovsk and Konstantinivka, I have such a hard time saying these words, that they're also going to be flanking Kramatorsk Slaviansk, which is the last defensive line in Donbass. So then he comes back and says, well, you have 10 days, maybe 12. And then it's, we need to meet. And he sends Witkoff, apparently with a deal, an offer, something that the Russians at the very least said, okay, we'll have this talk, we'll have this conversation, we'll finally sit down. Then he immediately lies and said, well, Putin is begging me for a visit. No, he's not. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about you. The reality of it is that Donald Trump bluffed with secondary sanctions, and then Taco backed off those secondary sanctions, as my channel kept saying that he would. I kept saying, do it. I want to see it. I kept saying it for an entire week. Do it. I want to see it. He backs off. He realizes that because you pass tariffs on the entirety of the world, that your economy is already under stress. The 100% tariffs that you were going to now pass on India and China, you couldn't do it on China, so you punt on China. You hit 20% of what India effectively deals with the US because you couldn't even do it on the entirety of India's economy. And then you effectively realize, okay, we need to get a deal, because if I don't get the deal, I look like an asshole. I bluffed and I got called. And once again, Taco has the back off. So now you send a request to meet with Putin. Putin says yes to whatever you sent the request to, that you can have this conversation. And now he is telling people, well, yeah, the Russians were begging me to meet because they were terrified of sanctions. Okay, no, they weren't. Now you're going to your European leaders and Europe, who's freaking out because they don't want Donald Trump to meet with Putin, with them being on the sidelines, because they're effectively carving up Europe without Europe being in the room, which is just the funniest thing in the world to me. Trump, after the virtual conversation, comes out, and would you know it, talking tough. This is Trump after the virtual summit.
There will be
sanctions, tariffs, to stop the war after your meeting on Friday.
Yes, they will.
What will the
There
consequences
will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs,
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences. Yes.
to stop.
Here's the thing. If Trump had these monstrous consequences, why didn't he just use those monstrous consequences to stop the war already?
Because he's got nothing.
But he said he had stuff. He said he had stuff. He said there's going to be monstrous consequences.
He doesn't even have a pair of deuces. He's got nothing. And I think I got a readout of the meeting between Putin and Witkoff, and Witkoff said, "Here are my demands from Donald Trump," and Putin said, "Go away," and that was how it went.
That was the meeting. That was the entirety of the meeting.
No, look. Here's Lil Marco Rubio told us back, I want to say in March. He said, quote, "It's been very clear from the beginning that President Trump views this as a protracted, stalemated conflict, and frankly, it's a proxy war between nuclear powers, the U.S. helping Ukraine, and Russia."
Right.
That's what Marco Rubio told us. You
Which
know that former Ambassador Burns, who is now the CIA director, wrote a classified memo saying "niet" means "niet."
He was CIA director under Joe Biden, just to be clear.
He knew NATO expansion would force Russia to intervene. So when when you understand see, and I keep going back to this because I think it's very, very for people to very important for people to understand. You've got to understand there's a history here. And this is not me defending Russia. This is not me defending Putin. This is not me being anti-American. But folks, facts matter. Facts matter. So Donald Trump is asking Vladimir Putin to stop a war that Joe Biden started. I can only assume whether it's Sergei Lavrov or whether it's Vladimir Putin or whether it's Medvedev, they're saying, I didn't start this. You did. You have to stop it. I can't stop it. It's 1 + 1 = 2 all day, every day. No matter, you can say 5 all day long. The answer is 2. You started the fight. I'm kicking your ass. Stop fighting me. I will stop kicking your ass. It's look, man, you strike me as a guy that, like me, has been in a pool hall or 10 in his day.
Yes, play chess. Yep.
There's a sign on every wall. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. You can be on the corner on Broad Street in Richmond. You can be on Broadway in Sacramento, where I'm from, on the corner. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. You started the fight. You have to end it. All Vladimir Putin, and the funny thing is, that's one of the things that Putin has been saying for the last 2.5 years. If you just leave me alone, I'll go home. Mm-hmm. Well, now he's created a bigger home, and he says, and here's another thing, and that Rubio quote. See, I think all the Western news agencies, when they want to talk about Ukraine, they need to open every story with that quote. It's a proxy war, the US and Ukraine and Russia. They need to start with that quote. Where there was a time in this when Putin kept saying, here are my demands. If you meet my demands, I will stop. Mm-hmm. He's now gotten to the point where he's saying, well, basically, this thing is over. So this is not a conversation. I don't think this is a conversation anymore about a peace deal. This is a conversation about the terms of surrender.
Yes.
And here's the question. If this is not a proxy war, why isn't Zelensky going to the meeting? Why won't Zelensky be in the room? He's allegedly the president of Ukraine. So he is the one, if this is not a proxy war, he is the one that should be negotiating the terms for his country. But they're not going to let him in the room. Oh, we'll call him. He's at the kiddies table, and we're going to call him when it's time for dessert. That's.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the reality.
Anywhere. I mean, like, he comes across as a particularly obnoxious character. And beyond that point, as you point out, this doesn't take place without the US. Europe doesn't carry this burden. Zelensky obviously will fall apart. The Russians want the US out of the war in the first place. So this fake negotiation that is taking place, and I call it fake because
because it's a listening session now.
Well, let me explain what I mean by fake. Donald Trump is pretending as if he's some third-party negotiator, as opposed to the major participant of the war.
Mhm.
The idea that you've given hundreds of billions of dollars, weapons, supplying them to
Mhm.
Europe and supplying them to Ukraine, intelligence and everything else, and pretending as if this is not my war. Dude, you're the president of the United States. It's not Joe Biden's war as an individual. It's the US's war, regardless of who the
It's
president
American foreign
is.
policy.
Yeah, and Donald Trump loves to say, I gave him javelins, I gave him javelins, I gave him javelins. We hit him first, we hit him first. Not my war, not my war. It's absurd. And this goes to the whole thing about no credibility. They don't care. They know that Trump is full of it. They know he's full of it. I agree with you, though. It is a listening session. Agree.
But I mean, that's what Donald Trump said. You know, it started with him. I'm meeting you in Anchorage. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Wah, wah, wah. And now, oh, it's a listening session. What are you gonna listen to that you haven't already heard? Because this is another, and you know this as well as I do. Whether you listen to Lavrov, whether you listen to Medvedev, whether you listen to Putin, for the last 3 years, I'll just use 3 years, but it's been since 1990 or 1991.
Yes.
They've been saying the same thing for the last umpteen years. Nothing has changed. These guys are consistent. They're consistent. The things that Putin, I believe, is going to say tomorrow in Anchorage, he's going to give Trump the same piece of paper he gave Biden in Geneva. He's going to say, well, Joe didn't give you the paper I gave him. Well, here, I'll give you another copy. It's the same damn thing. What are you listening to? What are you listening for? That's going to be different than what has been said every day leading up to this moment, unless you haven't been listening.
Well, there are two modalities of thought for this for me.
Okay.
One, Trump is performing for the Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
Two, meaning he's performing. He's doing what he typically does. Well, I'm going to be tough. I gave javelins. I was friendly with Putin, but I was at him. There's that where you're insecure. You have this belief that people think you're working with the Russians, that you're a pushover, that you're weak, because in this situation you are weak. So you're puffing yourself up, right? There's that, and the Europeans need to be seen. They need to be heard. It's like on Star Trek, what is it called? Discovery, which I don't consider to be Star Trek, where you get the chubby character and the binary character, and they call her he, and she's like, "Don't call me a he. I'm like her." And it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's like, "Oh, I felt seen." It's those moments, right? Where it's like the Europeans need to feel seen in this moment. So he's making them feel seen. And so they come on and say, this was a great conversation with Donald Trump. We think he fully gets what we need. Here are our demands. And it's like, oh, you guys have demands. That's so adorable. Give them to my secretary. I'll deal with them when I get back, right?
Thank you.
And then you go to Putin and you say, hey, man, I really need to end this war. What do you need? Give me what you need to end this thing. So you can have both of those things take place at the same time. Donald Trump is dishonest to his core. That dishonesty can go either way. Or you can have Trump go to the meeting and an American president can't accept what a Russian president gives him. Either of those things really could exist, considering the fix that Donald Trump is in. From my point of view, and let me get your take on this, it's not that the American project for primacy has gone anywhere. It's still there. They want to freeze this on some level where we can get back to this project a little bit later when Russia is in a weaker position. But they understand that if this keeps going, the level of humiliation that is going to take place when all of Donbass falls is going to be breathtaking. It's going to make Bakhmut and IDF just looks like, oh, you want a toy at the circus. So he knows that. The people around him knows that. And as an American president, the last thing you want to take place is if in 2 or 3 months, that line collapses where you have open steppe, either to Kiev or some of the other locations that are in Ukraine, because this is the last battle line in Donbass. He very well may want to put a stop to this, or at the very least a stop to this specific conflict. I don't know, because it's Donald Trump and he's a flagrant liar.
When you say
like I
he,
said-
you mean Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because Putin would just prefer for him to walk.
I
frankly.
believe, I firmly believe that Donald Trump wants to end this. The problem is he can't accept the idea of having to surrender in order to achieve that goal.
Agreed.
And Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, I believe, thought that he could bully, bluff, that he could create a scenario where he could frame this like Vietnam, where he could frame this like Afghanistan, where they have some semblance of reality where they can say, we didn't lose, we withdrew. And Putin is saying, no, I'm not going to allow you to save face at my expense. Your jokes aren't funny, especially when they're directed at me. So no, I'm not going to stand on this stage and be your puppet. I'm not sitting on your knee and having you say, look, we won. Yes, you did win. No, that's not going to happen. Putin is saying the time for that is over. I had an agreement with Zelensky in April. When did this thing start?
2014. Oh, you mean Istanbul agreements? 2022. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not the Maidan stuff, but when Zelensky and Putin sat down and came to an agreement, I think that was April of 22.
Mm-hmm.
And the United States sent Boris Johnson in to tell Zelensky, no, the West will not accept a settlement. They had a settlement. They were already there. And the United States told Zelensky, we're not going to let you sign it. So Putin saying, been there, done that. We're not going back. We're only moving forward. If you want this to end, you have to end it you got to stop messing with me. And, as I say, fire up the USS Missouri and resurrect Emperor Hirohito, because you all are going to surrender. That's what Putin, sail that rascal into the Black Sea with Hirohito in his top hat and his little tuxedo on, looking like Tennessee tuxedo. You have that. To me, that's where this is. It's like your dad. I gave you your chance. I told you, boy, don't have me get up out of this chair. And when Dad got up, it was lights out.
Do you think an American president could accept that?
No.
And again, we're talking, and to be clear, we're talking about a habitual liar that is
two things.
amoral to the truth.
Two things. One, no, an American president in this day and age cannot accept that. America cannot accept defeat.
Didn't Afghanistan?
Two, no, because we didn't surrender. And you know it, and I know it. It is lipstick on a pig. We know it.
Yeah.
But they're sitting there talking about, ain't she cute? Look at that nice dress she got on. Yeah, but it's a pig. Here's the other side of it now. Zelensky can't do it because those Nazi Ukrainian nationalists, Victoria Nuland does not have a box of cookies big enough now to save Zelensky's life. So they're stuck on both sides of the proxy. Both sides of the proxy are stuck in their own misunderstanding of reality. You lost. You've lost. It's over. And that's that, so Trump and Putin are sitting at the table, and Trump leans over and says, "Okay, Vlad, this is what I need you to do." And Putin looks at him and says, "Man, I've already won this thing. What are you talking about? This is what you're going to do, Donald, or I'm going to continue whooping that ass."
See, Ushakov said something, and I don't know if it was reported correctly out of RT. He made the point of saying the U.S. offered something. RT made it seem like they offered a settlement. Like basically, hey, this is what we'll give, and there's room for us to talk in the context of the thing that you'll give. But it also could have been, especially after listening to what he said, okay, they offered parameters for negotiation. Now, part of me thinks, would Putin really go to negotiation that's open-ended? That feels weird to me. Like meaning, hey, let's just come and talk. Okay, why am I talking to you? What are we talking about? You're just going to ask me, for this nonsense again?
For my phone number? What?
Yeah, right. So that's what I mean, right? Like, so it seems like there would have been some context.
But see,
before they show up.
Who was it that it might have been Sloboda. If it wasn't, I was talking to somebody, and I can't remember who it was, that made a very good point. Putin will always talk. Putin will always, huh?
You talk on the phone.
Well, now you're right. I can't get into his head to that level, and not only why is he meeting with Trump, but why is he meeting with Trump in Alaska when the ICC has an arrest warrant out for him?
Yes.
And Donald Trump could pull out a pistol and say, "Get them, boys."
All hell breaks loose.
Oh no, I realize that.
All bets are off. The world
I realize that, but that is a possibility that he's walking into a trap. Mm-hmm. That is, look, they just put a $50 million bounty on the head of Nicolas Maduro. So that's a possibility that has to be part of the calculus. So why is he doing that? I don't know. But I can't now. I wish I could remember who it was that said, always understand that Putin is a rational person who, at this level of the game, will always talk and always listen. That's why he met with Witkoff. Mm-hmm. Because I don't remember who it was I was talking to, but the question was, it was Lawrence Wilkerson. It was Colonel Wilkerson. That's who I was talking to. And I asked him, I says, well, doesn't it seem odd to you that and these are the words I used, that the diplomatic protocol of peer-to-peer meeting has been violated? Witkoff is talking directly to Putin, whereas in most instances, Witkoff would be talking to Lavrov. He said Putin doesn't believe in doesn't follow those artificial diplomatic regulations. He's going to talk to whoever he has to talk to get the answer that he needs to get. He's not going to create these artificial barriers when he's actually trying to solve a problem. It was Larry Wilkerson.
Yeah.
And so that's, to me, part of the answer as to why Putin is coming.
I know, but that doesn't stop.
That's what he's about, that life.
I know, but that doesn't stop. You can have that conversation on the phone. Like, this is because it's fraught with problems. As you pointed out, you're coming into the United States. The United States can't be trusted.
I don't know the
Um,
answer to that part of the question. I don't know. Other
it
than
would
what
make sense if it was contextually made in advance. Like,
oh,
for
wait a
example,
minute,
the
wait a minute, wait a
this
minute.
just keep
Because of the optics. Try this as an answer. Because of the optics. If Putin has the conversation on the phone, then Trump will just spin it like he's been continuing to spin it. But if he meets with him face to face, I'll be very surprised if after this meeting, you don't see Vladimir Putin standing at a microphone or sitting in a room taking questions, or that there's going to be some kind of readout from the meeting that will be almost irrefutable.
to an American press.
Well, to a world press.
Yeah, you and I have I'm far more cynical about the U.S. than I think you are on this one.
Okay.
Like, I agree with you. It's a world press, but Donald Trump
what
is,
I meant was, yes, the American press will be there, but the world press will be there as well. I didn't
would
mean
Russian
that
media be there?
I didn't mean that the American press is the world press.
Would RT be there? Would Sputnik be there?
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
No, I would imagine they can't.
Will TASS be there? I don't know.
But see, I guess that's kind of my point, right? Like, so this just came out. Apparently, they are having a conversation. The summit between Putin and U.S. counterpart Donald Trump on Friday will focus not only on Ukraine conflict, but on broader security agenda, involve several top Russian officials, and they go into right here, speaking to reporters on Thursday. Ushakov said that final preparations were underway for the meeting on Friday, which will take place in the joint base, et cetera, Anchorage, Alaska. It says, given the short notice of the summit, everything being done is in intense mode, technical, et cetera, et cetera. Where is it? They're talking about missile treaties also.
Okay.
And Putin apparently just recently, and I'll show the thing, made the point, I think this just came out, that right here, it says Vladimir Putin has admitted new agreement with the United States on strategic weapons. The president said that Russia is ready for new agreements with the United States on strategic offensive weapons, but only on condition a long-term peace conditions are created in Ukraine. It says he said that in a meeting with the country's top leadership, representatives of the cabinet and administration dedicated to preparing for a meeting with Trump in Alaska. According to Putin, the American side is, quote, making energetic and sincere efforts, unquote, to stop hostilities and work out agreements that will be beneficial to both parties in the conflict. Now, again, that could be political speak. But considering the situation that Trump is in, maybe not. That's what I mean. I don't know which way I entirely lean on this.
Well, see, to me, the fact that he stated the condition, we've agreed to all these other things on the condition that we reach. He has been consistent for the last umpteen years.
Yes.
We can go anywhere you want to go. I'll ride with you anywhere you want to take me, but the first thing you got to do is take me by the house so I can go to the bathroom. I don't. That's the. I'll ride with you till the wheels fall off, but the first thing you got to do is take me by the house so I can go to the bathroom.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree. It's like we got to solve this war first before we do anything else. I agree with you, though. I think this first one is a deal-out session. I don't think they walk out with a deal. Who knows?
No,
maybe
it's
not.
It's a listening session. See, now I honestly believe that once Donald Trump talked about severe consequences if you don't, that's when Putin should have said. That's when Putin could have said,
"I'm done.
Oh man, look, you playing that game again? I ain't coming." But I believe that we know this about Putin. We know this about Xi Jinping. We know this about Khomeini. They play the long game. They always play the long game. Trump
I think
thinks
like
he can
you.
play long game with short money, and that ain't gonna work.
I think like you on this. The moment that you said some nonsense like that, this is off.
But
You came
then,
begging me.
but then Trump spins it. So Putin says, "Oh, man, I ain't worried about that. Say what you want to say. I'm not worried about that. I'm winning. I'm winning." And Trump is the only one to my knowledge that has ever bankrupted a casino. Dude doesn't know how to negotiate. Dude doesn't know how. He bankrupted a casino. The man is a fool. And I think he's getting played.
Well, I would say we can close it, but my rationale with the reason he was coming to Alaska is just confidence. We're winning on
He's
the
winning.
battlefield. You contacted me, meaning you came begging to me. I don't care what your lies are. You came begging to me.
Right.
You made me an offer, not the other way around. We were
Right.
content to just keep going. We didn't respond to you with your threats. We didn't even answer you. Like we didn't even acknowledge your 50-day nonsense or 10-day nonsense. We didn't even acknowledge it. We just kept going, and as you point out, kicking ass. You came to us.
A new front just opened up. They didn't a day or two ago. Didn't Russia just have a major breakthrough?
Yes.
I think so he said, "Man, I'm out here thumping. I'm going hard in the paint."
As Bill puts it, what, 3 new cauldrons are forming right here?
And you're standing
This is
out
a
there
breakthrough
shooting
line.
threes and can't draw iron. I'm out
Yeah.
here thumping. I'm out here dunking on you, and you're chucking up threes and can't even hit the rim. And you want to talk about winning the game? No. So I'll come to Alaska. Okay. Now what?
Last question, yes or no? With all that being said,
Uh-huh.
you still don't believe that a U.S. president, meaning either way you look at it, regardless of these meetings, this gets solved on the battlefield. A U.S. president has no capacity, even one as mendacious and as lying as Trump, could walk out completely surrendered and claim that he got the moon. You don't think that can happen?
No.
Okay.
No. He'll get shot.
I don't think he'll get shot over that.
He'll get shot.
I think the majority of America will back him on this, frankly.
But it's not if it was the majority of America whose interests were controlling here, this would have been over a long time ago. It's not about it's about Northrop Grumman. It's about the military industrial complex. It's about the empire. The empire cannot surrender, especially in this perilous time when the empire is collapsing. No, the elite cannot can't they. I don't see how an American president on something like this that has been created and framed and spun to such a degree can just now turn around and surrender. I don't think he survives the day.
Then that American president is going to fail every bit as much as
He
Joe
already
Biden
has.
failed in Afghanistan.
He already has. It's already over.
Yeah.
He just hasn't admitted, but it's over. You lost. And again, this is about what scenario can I create to make it appear so I can save face in surrender.
Yes.
And Putin is saying, homie, you ain't got no option. You're not going to save face at my expense. Those days have passed. I tried to give you that in April of 22, and you turned me down. Now you got to take the whipping.
Dr. Wilmer Leon.
That's how I see it.
Dr. Wilmer Leon. We'll end it on that. He's a radio host, political scientist, nationally syndicated columnist, and host of Connecting the Dots. Definitely check him out. You have another show. Please give us the name of that other show and when it airs.
Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon, Sirius XM 126, Saturdays from 11 to 2 Eastern. Tom Porter will join me. Tony Montero is going to join me. Dr. Tony Montero is going to join me on Saturday. And I'm still working on one more guest.
Badass, man. You have a good one, okay? Thank you for this.
Appreciate
Appreciate these conversations. Be safe.
All right, you too.
All right. We are going to go from one damn good guest to another damn good guest. We are joined with Dimitri Lascaris. How you doing, my man? You doing okay today?
As always, I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm privileged to be put in the same category as Dr. Wilmer Leon. I love that man. Very kind remark from on your side. Thank you.
I'm doing what the hen do, the best that I can do. I'm Dimitri Lascaris. He's a lawyer, journalist, activist from Montreal, Quebec. Dimitri, in 2020, ran for the leadership of the Green Party, and he is host of Reason to Resist. Check him out on YouTube, another damn good channel. Thank you for joining me, man. I really do appreciate it. I guess we have to start where I left off with Dr. Leon. Alaska Summit, Donald Trump, the panicky, desperate play, goes from 50 days to 12 days, 10 days, then all of a sudden blows off, taco being taco, blows off the sanctions or the tariffs, secondary tariffs on China, only puts on a percentage on India because he understood that the US economy couldn't necessarily tolerate it and people were going to feel upset. This is on top of the other world tariffs, these ridiculous things that he's effectively enacted. He sends Witkoff into Russia to beg for a negotiation. I don't know what Witkoff told Putin. It's possible that something was offered that at the very least allowed, let's say, some context where Putin was willing to meet for further discussions. Before we get into it, what are your thoughts on that, just in general?
Well, I think every discussion about Donald Trump should begin with the understanding and acknowledgement that Donald Trump is currently committing genocide. That is the most important consideration when you are trying to understand where this man's going, what his priorities are, what his values are, whether he can be trusted. He's committing a genocide. He's not only committing genocide, he's committing a genocide that is more brazen and public and audacious than any genocide in human history. This happened right now. This is an ancient history. You know, something happened long ago and Donald Trump saw the light. No, it's happening right now. So what inferences can we draw from this? The man has no conscience. There are no red lines for this man. He's a psychopath. Peace means nothing to him, and he is completely and utterly untrustworthy. Nothing that comes out of that man's mouth can be believed. Nothing. The operating assumption should be that if Donald Trump says something that suits his agenda or makes him look good, he's lying shamelessly.
So he's a U.S. president.
So
that's what you're saying.
So how horrifying that is, but it's the reality that we have to deal with. And so I see everything through that lens. And it always amazes me, Jamal, how many times I've watched discussions about Donald Trump's priorities, strategy, to the extent he has any in other contexts outside of Palestine, where that isn't even discussed. It's not even mentioned, let alone the starting point of the discussion. That should be the starting point of the discussion. So I think we can safely infer that Donald Trump has absolutely no interest in making peace with the Russian Federation on terms that are sustainable and would be just for all parties concerned. That's just, take that off the table right away. Take it off the table right away that Donald Trump can be trusted. So whatever deal Donald Trump does, whether it's in this Alaska summit or 6 months down the road or 2 years down the road, isn't worth the paper that it's written on. And the only way that you can, as a counterparty to a negotiation with Donald Trump, secure your interests is to demand that Donald Trump act on and implement whatever concessions he's agreed to make before you implement any of your concessions. Okay, so for example, if Russia were to do a peace deal premised on Donald Trump lifting sanctions on Russia, Russia should say, if I think that they're acting rationally, lift the sanctions first. Then we'll do our end of the deal. We will not implement any part of our deal, none that has any lasting effect. Okay, maybe like they would put into effect some temporary ceasefire on aerial attacks for 30 days or something. Maybe they do that.
No, shouldn't even do that. No,
Yeah,
I agree with your first point. No, shouldn't do
I'm on
that.
I'm on the same page as you. I wouldn't do anything without seeing concrete action actually implemented by the Trump administration, which amounts to real serious concessions. And even then you have to be careful because they might, just like reimpose sanctions, for example. If they said, okay, we're lifting the sanctions, they lift the sanctions, they might just reimpose them. So you have to be extremely careful if you're dealing with this psychopathic character. And I think at the end of the day, it's very hard to say why Vladimir Putin has agreed to this meeting. It's very hard to say why Donald Trump is agreeing to this meeting. But I think we can safely infer that Donald Trump's motivation is not to achieve a just and lasting peace. And Donald Trump's and Donald Trump can't be trusted in any such negotiation. So I also would point out that a State Department spokeswoman just said that this is not going to be a negotiation at all. There was a press briefing in which she said, she said they're just going to talk. They're just going to have a sort of let's get reacquainted discussion. So they're not even calling it a negotiation anymore. They're lowering expectations. And I really don't know what to make of this, Jamal. I'm befuddled. If I were advising Vladimir Putin, first of all, I would tell him, don't step foot on US soil. Do not step foot on the soil of any Western country. You cannot trust these people. If Donald Trump is prepared to carry out a genocide, he's prepared to assassinate the top general of Iran, who's to say that they wouldn't do something to Vladimir Putin? I'm not saying it's likely. I don't think it's likely. I think probably nothing will happen to Vladimir Putin. But is it a significant risk? Yes, it is. And so to me, it's strange that the Russians appear to have agreed to do this on U.S. soil. But I do think whatever their thinking may be in that regard, I really would be surprised if they expect any kind of durable peace to emerge from this. And I think this has a lot more to do with managing expectations of Russia's allies and their own people. If you look at polls that are coming out of reputable polling agencies like the Levada Center, which is very critical of Vladimir Putin. It's no friend of Vladimir Putin and is regularly quoted by the press. And it shows consistently high approval ratings for Putin. But it also shows that Russians want to find a way to bring this war, a substantial percentage of the population, want to find a way to bring this war to an end on terms that secure Russia's future. So I think Vladimir Putin is cognizant of that. And he wants to be seen to be making every effort to engage Donald Trump in a discussion. And I think he also is cognizant of how his allies in China and India and other countries, Brazil, around the world, might be impacted by their support for Russia. And so he wants to show them that he's making every effort to conclude a peace deal with Donald Trump. So I think this is very much an exercise in demonstrating the Russian Federation's good faith when it comes to negotiating with the US government. But does that mean that this is going to result in any kind of a durable peace deal? I would be shocked if that happened. I really would. That would blow my mind. I hope it does. I really do. I would be thrilled if this resulted in a sustainable peace. But I just don't see it.
So I agree with you about Donald Trump. If he's, I keep telling my audience, habitual liars lie. If he's opening his mouth, he's probably lying. Two, Donald Trump would not be begging for a peace deal if he wasn't losing. Like, can you think of any other situation where Donald Trump is at a disadvantage or has an advantage and doesn't press it? I mean, look at what he's doing to Vonderland. Look at what he's doing to Japan, where he's like, hey, I'm bringing Japan here and they're going to give us all of this money. And meaning he has a habit of intentionally making the opposition look bad. And some of these things are not even opposition. I mean, Europe is supposed to be his vassals. And he's like, we're going to put sanctions on them. And they're going to put all of this money into our country. And look at von der Leyen. Look how stupid she looks because we're taking advantage of her. When he has an advantage, he's a sociopath. He pushes his advantage. Mm-hmm. He's not going to make a deal with Hamas because he's a sociopath. He's okay with killing babies. It's an advantage. He's going to press his advantage. The issue is that with Russia and China, he does not have an advantage. It's that. And so on some level, you're in a military situation where you are losing badly, where from the standpoint of the front line is just crashed and it is continuously collapsing. I mean, there are estimates that Russia went 110 kilometers and went in, 24 hours? That's astonishing. That's only going to get worse. They're going to hit the front line or the last line of defense of Ukraine and Donbass. And with the speed at which they're moving, when that collapses, all hell breaks loose. All bets are off. And there's going to be a collective, fit in the West. Trump knows that. He has to know that. So it's not like I'm doing 50 days, 10 days. Okay, now we need to negotiate for no reason. That's desperation. That's panic that's setting in. That's not out of nowhere. So I agree with you. He's not doing it because he wants to. He's doing it because on some level he believes he has to. He doesn't care about the Ukrainian troops. He doesn't care about the babies that are in Gaza. He doesn't care about the Yemenis when he's murdering civilians. He doesn't care about that stuff. He's a sociopath. And so that monster is being dragged to the well because that monster is in a situation where the level of humiliation that is going to take place when he fails and loses is overwhelming. That's my thought. Now, whether or not that monster can accept a loss on an epic scale in a war that they've spent hundreds of billions of dollars for, that they have invested 3 years of propaganda, lies, nonsense, and everything else in order to justify, that's an open question to me. I don't know that. I don't know. I mean, I agree with you on the other part with Putin also. Let's always realize Putin is somewhat of a diplomat. I mean, the West makes him out to be this fire-breathing monster riding a bear, bare-chested. And he may ride bears, bare-chested, who knows? He seems like a powerful man. But ultimately, he's a diplomat. And honestly, he is far more moral than the evil monsters. I mean, to the degree that you could say a politician is moral, than the monsters that have effectively provoked a war that got 100,000 Russians killed and 1 million Ukrainians killed, and that are using the Ukrainians as a battering ram, like meaning acting as if they have no value to their life and just throwing them into a meat shipper. Like that's pretty outrageous, meaning he's not the guy who they claim he is. If he was that guy, I don't think they would be acting this way, frankly. They'd be terrified. Mm-hmm. So Mark always said that Putin always freaks him out because they never know if he's going to negotiate. It's like there are times where he shouldn't, and he's willing to still go and listen and potentially negotiate. Okay, this might be one of those times. He is chasing safety from my point of view. And he wants something, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, he wants something that allows some level of stability for Russia. That's what I think he wants, ultimately. I think that was the entire point of the war. You guys are expanding NATO to a border. You're making it unsafe for us. You're trying to put us in a Hobbs choice. This is intolerable. War is a better option as opposed to allowing it to take place. So if he thinks that Trump is in a fix, if Trump is seemingly putting out some kind of deal, even if Putin gets his core wants, he may be open to a deal in this case. And there may be some fudge between these two. Now, maybe there's not. I don't know. Donald Trump is a flagrant liar. And so who knows where his head is? He can go tell the Europeans, I'm going to be very severe with Putin, and then get there and effectively say, please give me something so I can get out of this because I'm screwed in this situation. I don't know. Or you can have an American president that in no way can accept what Russia is demanding because even their core demands are too much for an American president to accept. It's probably that. So, look, I agree with you. Trump is a flagrant liar. You can't trust him for anything. You can't trust America for anything on this stuff. Any quote-unquote deal that you get, you need to ensure that they implement first. You can't have another Minsk 2, or, this can't be Minsk 3 in this case. You spent too much blood treasure for it. America has shown itself to be radically dishonest and distrustworthy. So yeah, I agree. I guess if that's true, though, I mean, let me ask it this way. Do you think there's any chance that an American president can accept what effectively will most likely be a surrender document by the Russian president? Is there any leeway from your point of view?
Well, it depends on what the American president is willing to risk. If you're willing to risk your own life, yeah, you can. But you are,
You really
you are
think
at
his life is at risk? You really think if he makes the deal, they're going to kill him? Because Dr. Leon said the same thing.
Look, they killed Kennedy. They killed Kennedy. I don't believe this shit that some, and by the way, a majority of Americans don't believe it either. If you look at polls, they don't believe that JFK was killed by a lone wolf,
No.
who was
I
communist
don't believe
sympathizer. No, who believes that crap anymore? Okay.
Yeah.
The deep state, exactly who was involved, I don't know. There's not enough evidence for us to be able to identify the exact perpetrators. We can make some educated guesses, but they killed Kennedy. Other presidents have been assassinated in U.S. history. Trump almost got his head blown off. Exactly in what circumstances, what was going on there is very, very unclear. But nonetheless, sure, any U.S. president who departs from the neocon status quo in a serious way and tries to make a just and durable peace with the world and accept the fact that the United States is just one of several powerful states and it has to make accommodation to other countries in the world, I believe is putting his or her life on the line. Absolutely. But if you're willing to take that risk, it doesn't mean necessarily that they will be assassinated, but it's a risk. If they're willing to take that risk, they can do it. They have the power to do it. But Donald Trump doesn't want that outcome. And I think the ultimate proof is just listen to what's coming out of the mouths of people who are under Donald Trump's control. So let's talk about J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance just did an interview. It was the most remarkable interview, Jamal. I just shaking my head. He says, we really need to bring this to an end. All those poor, Ukrainians and Russians, they're dying. This is needless, But we've told our European partners that if they want to buy the weapons from us and give them to the Ukrainians, we're fine with that. What? Right. What you said? You just said you want to stop the killing, but in the same breath, you're telling us that you're happy to see your European vassals buy weapons from the United States, give them to Ukrainians to prolong the war and sustain the killing. And this is consistent with the message. We talked about this before that Pete Hegseth delivered right in February, right after Donald Trump came back into the White House. Pete Hegseth delivered a speech to the Ukraine contact group in Brussels, in which he said precisely this: we want you to ratchet up your military spending, assume the burden for arming Ukraine, arm Ukraine. We're going to shift our attention elsewhere and primarily towards China. Right. And we're going to have a division of labor. So just listen to the words coming out of the mouths of the people Donald Trump controls. Another person Donald Trump controls, whatever anybody might say, is Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky has ruled out any territorial concessions at all. I don't believe for one second that Volodymyr Zelensky would do that unless he had the green light from Washington. There's no goddamn way. Well,
I disagree with you on that one. I totally do. Zelensky has his own. What happens if Zelensky accepts territorial concessions with the band of Nazis that floats around him on a daily basis, that is ready to string him up if they think he's going disloyal?
Yeah, sure. But the U.S. government has the power to spirit him out of the country and put him in some villa in Miami. They have the ability to do that. So I agree with you. I totally agree with you. His life would be at risk. But
do you believe that when Zelensky and Trump and Vance got in the White House, that was all staged?
I don't know. I don't know quite what to make of that. But I do think that Zelensky was humbled by the experience. I think Zelensky was humbled. Zelensky got the memo and said, dude, these guys, I shouldn't get out of line because otherwise they're going to make mincemeat out of me and they'll humiliate me publicly. So I don't know whether it was staged or not, but at the end of the day, the messages that are coming out of Trump's vassals. I mean, do you actually believe that Zelensky is a free agent? Seriously? When his government is saying the civil service is funded by American taxpayers, where his military, to the extent he has a functional army left anymore, it's hanging by a thread only due to the generosity and good graces of the U.S. military-industrial complex. I mean, I don't think Zelensky regards himself as a free agent. I think Zelensky ultimately, and I'm not to say he doesn't go off script from time to time, because after all, he is a buffoon, okay? He's an idiot. Let's be clear about this. And quite possibly, he's also a cokehead for all we know. There are indications of that too. So he's a bit of a wild card, and he sometimes goes off script. But fundamentally, I think, Volodymyr Zelensky knows where his bread is buttered. And he's not going to say anything that he thinks is going to, fundamentally alienate the Trump administration. And what he's saying, which is antithetical to peace, is consistent with what J.D. Vance is saying. J.D. Vance is saying something that's antithetical to peace. Buy the weapons from us, give them to Ukraine. Bob's your uncle. We're perfectly fine with that. Pete Hegseth is saying something that's antithetical to peace. So when you look at Lindsey Graham, who is Trump's golfing buddy, is saying all kinds of things that are wildly antithetical to peace. Yeah. So Trump is trying to seem clever. How Vladimir Putin is always the consummate diplomat in his public commentary, but then you have people like Dmitri Medvedev who are kind of reading you the riot act and telling you how it is. In a way, I think Trump is trying to do that, although he's much less good at it and much clumsier at it. At the end of the day, look at the totality of the messaging that is coming out of people who are under the control of the Trump administration, of Donald Trump himself. And the totality of the message that they are delivering unambiguously is anti-peace. It is pro-war, which is consistent with what I said at the outset, which is this is a genocidal regime. This regime has no interest in peace. None.
Dimitri, I so disagree with you on this. I love you to death, but I so disagree with you on this. Let me explain why. Because there are two moving pieces that I think is taking place, or three. One, it is not inconsistent for the United States to say, we don't want to deal with this. We want to move to China. That's been consistent for the last, going back to Obama and the Asia pivot. They just haven't been bright enough to do it. They've been keep getting bogged down either in the Middle East or bogged down in Ukraine for all of these years. They do want to make that pivot. The United States is $37 trillion of debt. It can't do both. We don't have the weapons to do both. We don't have the time to do both.
I agree with all of that.
So we want a division of labor. We want, hey, Europe, you take this. We want to be out. We don't want to keep dealing with this. We want to be out. Meaning those things aren't inconsistent. It's not that Donald Trump has given up primacy. He still wants to be a hegemon. It's just he wants labor to be changed over. Europe, you try to deal with the Russians. Israel, you commit your genocide and deal with the Middle East. We will move over to the Pacific. That's not inconsistent. We will come back around.
I'm not seeing where you and I disagree so far, because right now we're completely on the same page. So where do we?
It's not that, I guess my point is, it's not that they aren't warlike or that they're giving up on war. It's just the means in which they're trying to do war. It's not like we're giving up on this notion of the unipolar moment. We just kind of need vassals in order to kind of handle other parts and responsibilities. Right. Zelensky knows that the US president has a difficult time walking away, because if he could have walked away, he would have just walked in the beginning. So Zelensky is willing to push it in the same way that you may get countries that are willing to push and provoke nuclear war, saying, hey man, if you do this, we might go to nuclear war. Well, hey, if you do this, we may go to nuclear war. It's not that both sides want it. And at the end of the day, if Donald Trump is like, F it, I'm out, Zelensky will bend over quickly and spread eagle in a heartbeat. You're right that he is not an individual actor in this. All things being equal, neither is Europe. But Europe will complain, and they will put up their red lines. They was like, oh, this is outrageous. I can't believe you're going to do this. By the same token, you'll also get the UK saying, you need to shut up. You're going to make daddy mad, and daddy is going to leave. So yeah, they'll bitch and complain and moan and all of this other stuff. But at the end of the day, if Donald Trump walked, they will fall in line. But they know that a US president has a much harder time walking. So yeah, he is rogue in a certain degree. It's not, I guess I'm saying it's not inconsistent, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, are you saying that Donald Trump genuinely wants to bring this war to an end?
I think Donald Trump has a problem.
So let me rephrase the question, okay? So I want to draw a distinction, as I'm sure you accept and understand, that between a ceasefire and a durable peace, okay? I'm absolutely on board with you if you're saying that Donald Trump wants a ceasefire. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
totally. Because that
Yes.
will enable them to do this pivot, and then they can come back later, and finish off Russia in their
That's
minds.
what I agree with. Yes.
So, yeah, totally. I agree with that. He wants that. I've been talking up until now about a durable peace, about something that addresses Russia's core concerns and will last, and it won't see a resumption of the war in a few years' time. The latter is something I don't believe for 1 second that Donald Trump wants that, even though he says he wants it. He doesn't want that. What he wants is either a dramatic reduction in the fighting or a cessation for some temporary period of time so that the U.S. can, which has very limited stocks that have been enormously weapon stocks that have been enormously depleted. He wants, a pause or at least a reduction in the intensity of the hostilities in Ukraine so that they can reallocate their resources to West Asia and the Pacific eventually.
Agreed.
Okay, so there we're on the same page, but that doesn't mean Donald Trump wants a durable peace. Donald Trump has no interest in a peace. Or I guess I could put it differently and say he'd be happy if the durable peace was on the terms of the U.S. hegemon. Sure.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
We get to exploit your country, Russia. We get to, have your resources for, a dime, and we can partition your country. We can install some vassal like, Boris Yeltsin in power, or some corrupt vassal. Sure, that kind of a peace Trump would love, but that's not on the table. That's gone. That opportunity has been squandered.
Yeah.
So
That I agree with you.
Yeah, however you slice it, whatever Donald Trump is trying to accomplish, if he gets his way, will not result in a lasting peace, in my view. That's what I'm saying in a nutshell. But I do believe he would very much like a ceasefire.
Yeah. I think he finds himself in a fix. I think this whole thing of like Afghanistan, when Afghanistan fell and you had people hanging on Chinook, Chinook's helicopters, whatever those huge planes are, that stuff is humiliating. And, when he came in office, he's like, oh, I don't like losers. Joe Biden was a loser, et cetera. I would imagine he has military people coming to him saying, sir, I know what you're saying openly. In real life, they are collapsing, they are crumbling, and it's happening faster every day. This is an issue. And if you don't get ahead of it, it's going to be worse. Meaning you need a base-saving mechanism, even if it's a deal. Meaning as a ceasefire, something to freeze the stuff while you go into negotiations, even if those negotiations don't necessarily last. You need something to stop this in the moment. That's what I think. I agree with you. I don't think it's long-lasting peace at all. I think what Putin wants is a long-lasting peace. Yeah. And the catch is he politically savvy enough to try to wrangle that out of whatever they're having this conversation about?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's remember that Donald Trump considers himself to be the consummate negotiator, right? He says, "Oh, how many times have we heard him say, this war wouldn't have happened if I were there, and I'm going to bring this to I just laugh when I watch these videos from the campaign, the presidential campaign, where he says, "I'm going to bring this war to an end within 24 hours, and this is how I'm going to do it." So he goes and he tells us how he's going to do it. I'm going to sit Volodymyr Zelensky down at a table. And then I'm going to get Vladimir Putin on the other side of the table, and they're going to talk to each other, and I'm going to tell them to make peace, and they're going to make peace. What? You think this is your grand strategy? This man is
all he knows.
Delusional belief in his ability to negotiate. I think he sucks as a negotiator. I've been involved in many a high stakes negotiation in my life as a class actions lawyer. I don't purport to be the greatest negotiator on earth, but I do know a thing or two about it. And from what I can tell, Donald Trump is a horrible negotiator who thinks he is the best negotiator on God's green earth. So I think he's going into this thinking that, the aura, the power, the charm of Donald Trump, the negotiator, is going to take over, and he's going to get his way with Putin. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's part of what's motivating this meeting, but I do agree with you. It would be very surprising if there aren't at least a few bright people in the Pentagon who are telling Donald Trump Ukraine's in real trouble. Because it is. It's in real trouble.
To make this even worse, which I got to be honest, I disagree with Dr. Leon on this. I would have called the meeting off immediately when I heard some nonsense like this. This is Trump, who has no cards in this process, who, if he had the capability of doing this, he would have already done it because, again, he's a man-child with a gun. But he comes out and says this today, again, just to be very clear, Trump begged Russia for the meeting. Not the other way around. Trump begged Russia for the meeting.
To stop the war after your meeting on Friday.
Yes, they will.
What will the
There
consequences
will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences. Yes.
I'm going to stop the war after my meeting on Friday. Now, to be fair, after your meeting on Friday can be 5 years, right? That's also after your meeting on Friday. So he's not entirely lying if he can find a way to stop the war. That is not the spirit of the question. But Donald Trump is amoral to the truth, right? It's the premise that is like, there are going to be severe consequences if so-and-so doesn't happen. If I was Putin, I would have came out and said, meeting is off. Done. I didn't ask for this meeting. You did.
Me too. I'm really befuddled by this one, Jamal. I'm not sure what, I offered the best explanation that I could. I think that, Putin is cognizant of the need for the Russian Federation to be seen to be engaging in negotiations, even in very, very, shall we say, suspect circumstances. That's my best guess as to what's going on. But I on the whole, I really can't make sense of it. I don't know what is the thing about going to Alaska to meet with Donald Trump at this particular moment.
Yeah,
I should add one other thing though. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
There may have been things said in that meeting with Witkoff, the war criminal, as I like to refer to him, which are influencing the government's thinking in ways that we don't really appreciate. We do know that a senior Russian political leader came out, I think it was Ushakov, and said they made an offer that was acceptable. So there may have been things said in that meeting by that billionaire war criminal dunce Witkoff, which persuaded the Russian Federation's government that this was a useful exercise. So I don't know.
That's my assumption. That's the only assumption that makes sense to me. It feels very weird to me to say, hey, Putin, we would like you to come to an open-ended meeting with Donald Trump, just talk. It's like, yeah, no, get out of here. Why are you here? Why are you here? We'll even let you in, right? Like, why am I doing that? I can tell you no from the phone. I don't need this meeting. It's a different thing if you say, look, we're offering so-and-so and so-and-so. Okay, that may be different. That may be basis of a conversation. Hell, I may even be willing to go to Alaska to have that conversation. Because as you point out, if the goal is, let's say a ceasefire, I don't think Russia believes that the United States is going to have this kind of lasting peace and all of this stuff. I don't think they're that naive. But 5 years? Maybe. Wins beget wins. And who knows how long America lasts in the context of a country that can even keep this up, or Europe lasts. In 10 years, Europe may not have the same leaders. You might have a different political system or political situation. Maybe. Like that, it depends on how they're looking at it. I mean, when I was talking to Arno was like, dude, you don't get forever. You get a decade at the most. It's cynical, but it's the way he's looking at it. You get a decade. I said, yeah, but they're going after Azerbaijan. Yeah, it's always a game. It's always, it's been this way for hundreds of years. It just is what it is. And people like me in America is like, what do you mean? It's like, what are you talking about? Like, they may be more cynical in the way that they look at what they can get out of any kind of political situation. And they may think, this is the best we get. Let's take it. Maybe we get more out of it. Maybe America collapses. Maybe the political system in America becomes an issue. Maybe the BRICS currencies damages the way the dollar is used. Maybe. You don't know, right? So I don't know. Putin did say this, though. This came out recently. I think this came out yesterday or today. This came out today, actually, where Putin finally said something about the meeting that was supposed to take place. And apparently the meeting is going to be far more than just Ukraine, but it's going to be predicated on Ukraine, if that makes sense. Vladimir Putin has admitted new agreements with the United States on strategic weapons. The president said that Russia is ready for new agreements with the United States on strategic offensive weapons, but only on condition that long-term peace conditions are created in Ukraine. And so he said this at a meeting with the country's top leadership representatives of the cabinet and administration dedicated to preparing a meeting with Trump in Alaska. According to Putin, the American side, quote, making energetic and sincere efforts, unquote, to stop hostilities and work out an agreement that will be beneficial to all parties of the conflict. Okay, for one, I don't believe for a moment it's going to be beneficial to all parties of the conflict. The U.S. is only looking out for U.S. interests. But when America's in a situation where it doesn't have a choice, and oblivion is at the other side of that, you may be able to wrangle out something that is livable. Give me your take on that.
Well, I would be very surprised if the discussion were only focused on Ukraine. I mean, there's so many issues. And frankly, Ukraine is, and I don't mean this with any disrespect whatsoever to the Ukrainian people, for whom I feel tremendous sadness, what's happened to their country, and how they've been abused by the West and turned into this, festering wound in the heart of Europe to pursue a US hegemonic project. But there are far more important things from the perspective of the Russian Federation, and frankly, from the perspective of the world. And the first one at the top of the agenda is nuclear war. This is absolutely critical to the survival of all of humanity, that we reduce the threat of nuclear war and eliminate it eventually altogether. So if something was said by Witkoff in that discussion about nuclear disarmament, I could see that would help me to make sense of all of this, because I think that is something that the rational leaders of Russia are very, very focused upon. But again, can you trust these people? Trump administration pulled the US out of the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, for Christ's sakes, man. I mean, come on. They destroyed the JCPOA, the Obama era nuclear deal with Iran. And now, as a result of that and the criminal war of aggression on Iran, Iran may actually have nukes. If it doesn't, it may develop them very shortly. So it's hard to believe that the Trump administration has come to Jesus on the question of nuclear disarmament. But maybe they made some kind of soft commitments in that discussion between Witkoff and Putin, like reviving the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, finding some way out of this extraordinarily dangerous path that the U.S. is on with Iran. Mm-hmm. I can see that being sort of a cautious basis on the part of the Russian Federation to engage in these discussions, because I think that that's understandably far more important to them than Ukraine.
Yes, but it's all predicated on Ukraine.
Well, Ukraine's definitely an essential part of the puzzle, because if you have NATO on your doorstep, what do those nuclear disarmament agreements mean anyways? Do they really mean anything? Exactly. If you have massive numbers of NATO soldiers, like a few hundred kilometers from Moscow in Ukraine, no. So I agree with you. It is an essential part of it, but these are things that might have added to the incentive on the part of the Russian Federation to take part in these discussions. And they might have also talked about the Arctic, how are we going to develop the Arctic together? They might have talked about how we're going to avoid a further war with Iran. All of that stuff may have been raised in the meeting with Witkoff. But whatever may have been said in the meeting with Witkoff, I would be shocked, Jamal, if the only thing that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin discuss on Friday is Ukraine. That would be astonishing to me.
Yeah, agreed. I know it sounds callous to be like Ukraine matters is part of the negotiation. Because my thing used to always be, if Ukraine is the negotiation, then you have no cards. Like, you've lost in Ukraine. You have no cards. So what are we really discussing other than a surrender, if indeed Ukraine is the only thing on the table? If it's, well, let's bring in a START treaty, let's bring in some kind of deals, let's bring in some kind of partnership, okay, well, that's different, right? That may be something that you do have cards in, that we can exchange these cards on Ukraine on some level. No, I agree with you entirely on this front. Let's talk about Gaza for a bit. What time is it? We have a few minutes. Netanyahu, war criminal that he is effectively going with this idea of trying to take the entirety of Gaza. Now, New Zealand, Australia, some of these other European states have come around out of political expedience because of their populations to putting out message saying, hey, we believe in a shiny object. We believe in it. So get off our backs. That shiny object being a two-state solution. Now, I guess my question to you is, A, does it matter? Meaning, even if, who was I having a conversation with? And they made the point, it was Alex Craner. And Craner made the point of saying, Israel is toast. And I said, it doesn't look like it's toast. And he says, yeah, but, all things being equal, I don't think Trump loves Israel. And it's like, well, Trump doesn't need to love Israel. Like, meaning I don't need you to love something if I can compel your behavior. Like, you could be, if I can have you as my willing servant, you can hate my guts as long as you're my willing servant. And it's kind of that. And it's like, even if they have to pay $100 million in order to compel behavior, they're still compelling behavior. So does it matter? And that's a weird way to put the question, but the fact that it's become clear that the overwhelming sentiment of the world is that these people are genocidal monsters. They're bloodthirsty animals. Does it matter in the context of behavior? The fact that you're able to get a world leader to say, okay, we believe in a two-state solution, Israel's committing a genocide. Is that important?
No, it means nothing. It's absolutely meaningless. Okay. You have, where is this Palestinian state going to be? Okay. It's supposed to be along the 1967 borders. That's the overwhelming international consensus, which basically means the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The West Bank has 800,000 crazed lunatic settlers in it who are heavily armed, who are fanatical, who are carrying out pogroms on a daily basis with the support of the Israeli military. They've basically depopulated the largest refugee camp in the West Bank, Janine, and they're in the process of doing that to Qadim, which I think is the second largest refugee camp. Many of the people living in small villages in the West Bank have been dispossessed within the last several months. Smotrich just announced, I think, a 3,000 unit settlement expansion. And before that, right after, literally days after, seven Western countries threatened Israel with sanctions if it didn't stop expanding settlements, they announced the biggest settlement expansion since 1967, since the occupation began. Okay, so forget about the West Bank. How are you going to get those settlers out of there? How are you going to actually enable the Palestinians to have control of this territory and to live in peace? If you tried to remove them, there would be a civil war. You would have to use violence, and it would be bloody. No question about it. Who has evinced the slightest interest in carrying out that task? Certainly Israel isn't going to do it. Are the Western governments going to do it? Are they going to remove those settlers? How are you going to get them out of there? Forget about it. Look at the condition in Gaza. Gaza has been completely and utterly demolished. There are unexploded ammunition all over the place. There are contaminants. There are people suffering from preventable disease on a mass scale. So we're going to build a Palestinian state on the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Are you damn well kidding me? I mean, like, what kind of a fool believes this crap anymore? It's total crap. Okay, this is nothing but a distraction. It doesn't actually deter Israel from doing anything. After, these countries came out and said, maybe at some point in the near future, we'll recognize Palestine. Yeah. None of them, I believe, have actually done it, right? France hasn't actually done it. Canada hasn't actually done it. The UK hasn't actually done it. They're talking about doing it soon and on conditions. But let's suppose they do it. Does anybody seriously think this is going to stop the genocide? That this is going to deter Israel from continuing to expand settlements, from committing every manner of atrocity? This is all kabuki theater. That's all this is. The Western governments are feeling the heat, which is the good news, Jamal. They're feeling the heat. Okay, you look at public opinion polls. Israel's standing has been destroyed in the West, and this will ultimately have consequences for the political elites who support them and for Israel itself. But right now, they are just trying to look like they're doing something without actually doing something. And that's what this two-state solution nonsense is all about. That is dead as a doornail. There is only one solution to this problem now. It is a single state in which all people have equal rights, regardless of their religion or their ethnicity.
That's going to be a complicated single state. That's going to be a complicated single state.
It will indeed. And I think that ultimately that single state is going to have the name of Palestine, because what's going to happen is this exodus of people, Jewish Israelis who have other options in life, will accelerate. And you're going to end up at the end of the day with a population of, it's going to be overwhelmingly Palestinians. And they're going to be driving the bus. And the people who remain, I think there will be a Jewish population in this one state. It will eventually happen. I truly believe that. But these are going to be the few people amongst the Jewish Israeli population who are willing to respect Palestinians. There are some, not many, who are willing to respect Palestinians as equal citizens. And I think that that's what the country will actually look like in the long run. The problem, of course, is that in the interim, Israel can and will kill a lot of people. That's the horrifying thing about this.
There's also New Israel, Cyprus.
Right. Yes. And I'll be going there very shortly, as a matter of fact.
Will you? Oh, you got to let me know what that's like. That's like.
I'm going to be
They were
joined by.
flipping out. They're like, oh my God, they're trying to take over.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. It's like, okay, so when you were watching them do that in Palestine, you didn't have any issue, but now they're moved over here. You're screaming. I guess you can see what they did in one location. It's like you don't want them to come over to the other location.
I'll tell you a little story just quickly. When I came back to Greece, where I am now, a couple of weeks ago, I checked into a hotel in Athens. I've been there many times.
Yeah.
And I'm standing at the desk checking in, and there are two Israelis standing beside me. And I know because they're speaking, to each other in Hebrew, and they've got a thick Israeli accent. And one of them pulls out a big wad of cash, tells the guy behind the desk, "Oh, we want to pay for everything in cash," whatever. So I check in, I put my bags in. I'm coming out of the hotel to go get lunch, and as I'm exiting the hotel, another Israeli walks by with his suitcase, and he's on his cell phone. And I know he's Israeli because he's speaking in Hebrew with an Israeli accent on his cell phone. So in the space of 15 minutes within returning to Athens, I had two encounters in central Athens with Israelis. They're all over the place here. You can see them all over southern Greece, all over Cyprus. They're fleeing the country in droves. And ultimately, I think that's going to be the thing that brings this genocidal entity to a merciful end.
They're taking over. They're taking over. You better tell the Greek government, like, hey, better put in some immigration restrictions.
Yeah.
You saw what they did in Palestine. I want to talk about Lebanon before we close also. What is happening in Lebanon is sickening and fascinating simultaneously. And maybe I should be fascinated by it and more sickened by it, but I guess I'm equal parts of both. Part of the fascination is just because my government works different. And the way that Lebanon is put together is very strange to me. With this kind of sectarian thing. America is just not built that way. We were an apartheid state at one point, and it's considered me caring about your religion, me caring about your race, me caring about your whatever, is considered impolite. Whereas the sectarian stuff is pretty heavy in the Middle East. And so it's a little bit strange, especially to organize a government around the sectarian divisions. And then you have a government that is so passive for whatever particular reason that they don't fire a shot in anger at the people who are bombing them, and they don't fire a shot in anger at invaders. But they're actually considering passing or trying to, and I'm going to say trying to because everybody I've talked to say there's no way this is going to fly. The government will collapse before this is allowed, to effectively disarm the only resistance force that is willing to fire a shot in anger to defend Lebanon. That is wild to me. But that seems to be what is taking place. And it's being done in this kind of very shameless, open, obvious way that it's foreign invaders, the United States and Israel, that is effectively backing this particular policy, knowing that this is going to either create a civil war, a collapse of the government, or some level of chaos in the government itself with the idea of destroying Lebanon. Give me your take on that. Do you think I'm getting that right? Am I getting this wrong? Am I missing something in this?
I totally agree that there's no prospect of Hezbollah voluntarily disarming, and that if the Lebanese army tries to force it to disarm, there will be a civil war. I personally don't believe that the Lebanese army will actually try to do that because I don't think they have any stomach for a fight with Hezbollah.
Yeah.
And exactly where they're going to find themselves. I thought my best guess, Jamal, is that the Lebanese government, which is extraordinarily weak, it's buying time. It is telling the Americans and the Israelis what they want to hear. If they came out and said, nope, we're not going to disarm Hezbollah, there would be another invasion for sure. And all the horror that would implicate. So they're trying to buy time. They don't have any other strategy. They're just telling the Americans and the Israelis, some point down the road, we're going to disarm Hezbollah. But I don't think any rational observer thinks they're actually going to succeed. And I personally don't think they're even going to really try. A lot of the people who serve in the Lebanese army are Shia Muslims
Right.
who probably have some level of sympathy for Hezbollah. And whether or not they're sympathetic to Hezbollah, are they going to want to kill their fellow Shia Muslims? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, there's some crazies in Lebanon, like the Phalangists. They're probably, spoiling for a fight with Hezbollah if they have the Americans and the Israelis on their side. But they constitute a very small proportion of the population. So I think what's going on here is they're buying for time, and ultimately they will not disarm Hezbollah. And eventually there is going to be another invasion by Israel, if it doesn't collapse before then, which is a possibility. Especially if they attack Iran. If they attack Iran, I understand, I haven't had an opportunity to read it, but I've heard others commenting on it. The Trita Parsi has published an article, a very astute observer about Iranian affairs and its relations with the West, in which he argues that another attack, again, I'm going on what I've heard from others, so I haven't actually read the article, that another attack on Iran from Israel and the United States is relatively imminent.
I need to get some more coffee. My audience is going to laugh at that. You may not know why. So when the attacks were taking place before, when the videos were coming out of Israel getting pummeled, just getting completely pummeled, I will sit here, drink my coffee, and I'll say, whew, this is some damn good coffee, as I watch. It's almost like having popcorn. I don't want that attack to take place, but I'm conflicted. I feel I don't want to accept this part of me that is okay with one person getting attacked, so that person can get decimated, meaning the attacker can get decimated. Like, all right, that stove is hot. You're going to touch that stove. You touched it once before. It was hot. I told you it was hot. You didn't believe me. You know it's hot, and you're about to touch it again. Have at it. I don't like that, even though I want Israel to get pummeled, because I feel like it's an issue of justice, and nobody else is putting that justice out. It also feels weird as me, an American, saying it, considering it's my government that's effectively doing it. Because I know that the way Iran fights wars and the way Israel fights wars are very different. Iran tries to fight a moral war, which I'm like, dude, are you serious right now? But that makes me bloodthirsty, right? But they're like, no, we don't want to kill civilians. There are no civilians. All of these people are lunatics. If they want to touch the stove, they can touch the stove. I would imagine Iran at this point is on some level more prepared for it.
I struggle exactly with the same thing, Jamal.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not interrupting me. I'm sorry.
You and I had a discussion when the 12-day war was happening, and I remember we started the discussion by commenting about how there was a new spring in our step. because we finally felt that the genocidal satanic entity was getting its comeuppance. And so, right, this is. I know you don't want war. I know you don't want to see innocent suffer. I have no doubt about that. And nobody who's listening to our discussion should have any doubt about that when it comes to you or me. We don't want this. But how can you not want to see Israel get demolished after the last 2 years of genocide? I mean, it's so hard to resist that. It's a very natural impulse. It's called justice. You want justice. And no one else is delivering justice to the Palestinians or to the Lebanese or to the Syrians or to the Yemenis. No one else is delivering justice except Iran. Iran has the capacity to do it. So it's a very normal, natural thing to want to see justice delivered, even though I have no doubt that you would agree with me on this. We would much rather see, Western governments wake up tomorrow and find that they have a conscience and say, we're gonna sanction the shit out of Israel today and demand all weapons are cut off. We're going to destroy their economy if they don't stop this genocide now. That would be infinitely preferable, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen anytime soon. What's the next best option? It's Iran.
It just feels weird. That's all. It just feels weird saying it. I hate admitting. I hate admitting it because, again, it's the way they fight wars. They're very different. Like Israel is like, we're going to go for decapitation strikes and try to murder as many people as we can possibly murder. And Iran is like, we're going to hit military sites. It's like, okay, well, I get it. I don't want to say it's unsatisfying because that makes me bloodthirsty, but it's kind of unsatisfying. Like one side is trying to mass murder. They're trying, we want a decapitation strike to take out the political entity in order to turn it into Syria or turn it into Libya. And it's like, okay, well, they were selling slaves in Libya, one of the most prosperous countries in Africa, turned around into a complete basket case. And in Syria, they're murdering ethnic minorities. And that's what you're trying to do. That's your objective to do. So yeah, I kind of do want you to take an L, and I want you to take it very badly. It feels, I don't know. Feels
Well,
bad.
yeah, you see so-called civilians, destroying humanitarian aid on trucks that are at the border of Gaza with the express intention of stopping starving children from being fed. It's hard to have sympathy for those civilians. It's very, very hard.
Yeah. It's that, I hate saying that. God, man, I hate saying that, but it's true. It's true. Because I don't feel like any of them are civilians. Like, this is not Gaza, where you're talking about women and children, and obviously the women and children aren't Hamas. This is like 80% of the population saying we agree with what's taking place in regards to the starvation and the decimation of another population of people, many of which are children, the majority of which are children. That's different. That doesn't, it feels like Nazi Germany, where most of those people are Nazis. Most of those people agree. Most of those people are involved, even though they may act like they don't know about the camps. They knew about the camps. It feels like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And to be part of the United States, where we are the main proponent in regards to paying for it, are we also culpable for it? Like, meaning, are we in Western governments who are effectively supporting Israel to the hilt, giving them money, giving them political support, everything else? Are we also culpable for what they do? Yes, kind of. Our tax dollars go to it.
If you live in the West, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again till blue in the face, and I don't give a damn. People don't like hearing this. If you live in the West and you're not lifting a finger to put a stop to this genocide, you have the blood of Palestinian children on your hands, because your governments are doing this. They're doing this with your tax dollars. They're doing this in your name. You voted these psychopaths into power. You allowed them to take power. You volunteered for their campaigns. Not everybody, but in Canada, I have to get this off my chest, Jamal. We just had an election. 85% of the people who voted for the Liberals or the Conservatives, both of which have been supporting this genocidal entity for decades. Okay, so I'm outraged. I'm outraged that 85% of my countrymen, of my countrywomen, voted for these people who are pro-genocide. Okay, you have the blood of Palestinian children on your hands. It's not just them. And it's time for you to get off your ass and start doing something to put an end to this horror.
Why did they do that? Like, I know why they do it in the US, but I don't know the Canadian political, and I'll let you go after this. I'm just curious. We have a bicameral, well, it's not bicameral, that's not the right word to put it. In the United States, there's this thing of legitimacy, or it depends on if you're Democrat or Republican. And honestly, it depends on if you're white or black. In the States, if you're black, there's this thing that's always at play in our politics of who keeps the monsters at bay. The monsters being the people in the other parties, because the Republican Party were the Southern Strategy Party, effectively putting in racist blacks. Remember that, almost like in our DNA. And so the people we tend to vote for tends to be on the Democratic side, and it tends to be candidates who are considered legitimate in a way that can beat the Republican. So Hillary Clinton was getting the black vote up until the point where Obama became, quote unquote, legitimate, in which case Obama was able to win and get the vote. I don't know how it works in Canada, though. What's the dynamic in Canada where they would, because I thought you guys were more likely to vote Green Party, vote.
Well, we have what's called the first past the post system, which means that votes are not distributed proportionately to the popular, seats aren't distributed proportionally to the popular vote. In any given, what we call riding, you call them congressional districts, whoever has the most votes gets in, and the rest of the votes basically mean nothing. Okay, so that's the way it works. So even though we have that system, we still manage to get significant numbers of people in Canada's parliament who don't come from the uniparty. In Canada, the uniparty, U.S. it's Democrats, Republicans. In Canada, it's Liberals, Conservatives. So we have, a party called the New Democratic Party, which actually in recent months has been reasonably good on Palestine. The Green Party has been reasonably good on Palestine. Then there's another party centered in Quebec, the Bloc Québécois, which has been, at least not as bad as the Liberals or the Conservatives on Palestine. So, and there are a whole bunch of other parties too out there who, don't win seats, but they have a legitimate political party, and their name is on the ballot in a number of districts. So Canadians have other options. They really do. And, and so there's really no excuse for 85% of the public voting for Liberals and Conservatives when they're committing a genocide. They're aiding and abetting a genocide. And that's just one of the monstrosities. These two parties are also, fanatically committed to escalating the Ukraine war, which is an existential threat to humanity. And I could go on and on. I mean, we have options in Canada. Ultimately, people vote for these two parties for one of three reasons. One, they agree with them. And unfortunately, there is a significant percentage of the Canadian population, it's a minority, but it's significant, that agrees with their politics. The second is Canadians say, and I'm sure this is true of all countries in the West to some degree, they say, well, that's I care about that issue, but I care about other issues more. Mm-hmm. All right. And the third reason is they're brainwashed. But in this, media environment in which we live, where the truth is out there, I mean, everybody can see what is happening, in real time to the people of Gaza. We can see in real time what is happening in Ukraine. The information is available to us. Being propagandized is no longer an excuse.
Dimitri, man, I always appreciate you, man. Thank you for this. I really do. Dimitri Lascaris, he's a lawyer, journalist, and activist from Montreal, Quebec. In 2020, Dimitri ran for the Green Party leadership of Canada, and he is host to Reason to Resist. Check him out. He has a damn good show on YouTube. By the way, what time does your show come on? I usually catch reruns.
Well, usually we do like one live stream a week normally, and we publish about 3 or 4 reports at 11 a.m. Eastern time during the week.
Okay. Dimitri, thank you for this, man. I really do appreciate it. I always appreciate these conversations. I really do.
Thank you. Take care.
You be safe. Bye-bye. All right. Shout out to Dimitri. Deeply appreciate him for joining me. Always appreciate those conversations. He is a really great guest. Definitely check out his show, Reason to Resist. We have a few minutes before Sarah comes on. She's back from her trip to Iraq. So that should be interesting to see how that went. Got to be honest, I'm slightly jealous. I've never been to Iraq. I had one opportunity to go, but it was... My trips need to be not necessarily entirely planned out, but I need to know in beginning and end point, because it becomes a medical issue after a certain period of time. And it becomes a risk if I don't know the beginning and end points. I need to know how we're getting into a country. I need to know how we're getting out of the country. I need to know how all of these things I need to know. This didn't feel that way. This felt like, hey man, we're gonna go to Iran. Okay, how are we gonna get in? Yeah, we're gonna go to Iraq. Okay, do I need a passport? Yeah, what about a visa? We'll get that on the way. Oh, dude, you're not helping me. You're not helping me in this moment. Everything went fine. And I'm like, God damn it, I should have went. But let's put that to the side for the moment. I want to talk about the Europeans. The Europeans have gotten to be some of the funniest people on the planet to me. They have no swords, and yet they have the loudest mouths. And that they are effectively screaming at Donald Trump in their virtual summit that they effectively had. I believe this was yesterday. The time zones are a little bit different, so I'm not sure if it was yesterday or today, but let's just say yesterday. In the virtual summit, you had a situation where the European leaders each made their points to Donald Trump, their wants, their hopes, their aspirations, their dreams. Please, Daddy, please don't let the bad man hurt us. And please, Daddy, don't make a deal with the bad man. Please, Daddy, allow Ukraine to be part of whatever deal you make with the bad man. Please, Daddy, please. Now, they come out of that meeting saying, We felt seen by Donald Trump. We felt seen. We felt that Donald Trump understood what we wanted. We felt and believed in Donald Trump in this moment. Okay. Now, considering Taco backtracks on pretty much anything, you probably should not feel that seen. Now, the reality of why I say you probably should not feel that seen is, as I pointed out on more than one occasion, what is taking place on the front lines seems to be a collapse. It seems to be that the war of attrition that started off as a lava flow that slowly was inexorably going westward. I mean, I've shown these maps. I don't know if these maps make sense to anybody here, but I would show this one again. You may not know how to play chess, but you know when a lot of pieces are surrounding something, it's bad. They have moved, from my understanding, over 100 kilometers in 24 hours. That's not a lava flow. That's not a lava flow. That's something else. And so when you see that, and if your name is Donald Trump, and you have these European leaders who are screaming in your ear about, Daddy, please don't do it, Daddy, don't do it. What are you supposed to do with that? These people are not seeing reality for what it is. They have mythical ideas of things. And the things that they're asking you is intentionally designed in order to put a kibosh on any potential deal that you may be able to make. Again, as I point out, Donald Trump is not making a deal because he's virtuous, because he's moral, because he's a kind person. He's a sociopath. He's a monster. He is making a deal because in his strategic best interests in this moment, as opposed to having a complete and utter collapse of the front, he would rather have a face-saving mechanism of some sort of a ceasefire. Even if that ceasefire falls apart at some point, he would have preferred to have something to stop the bleeding that is taking place right now. Not the bleeding of Ukrainians, the bleeding of his credibility. And for that matter, he wants some level of a win. So I hope you get my point. This is not about America giving up primacy. This is not about America giving up its want for global control. It's not about America being nice and just wanting a deal in order to end the conflict. It's not about any of those things. The president of the United States right now is in a fix. He has decided to have a tariff war against the world. There's that, meaning prices for Americans have gone up. And the secondary sanctions that he wants to pass against India, China, whatever other country will have feedback consequences on the US population. All of those things are negative to the US population, which means it's negative for him. He knows it. If Taco had the capability of inflicting his will on the Russians in a way that could compel behavior, are you telling me he would have waited 8 months to do that? Taco, after talking to the Europeans, comes out, makes a statement saying, being very tough, threatening the Russian president, which is pretty amazing when you think about it.
To stop the war after your meeting on Friday.
Yes, they will.
What will the
There-
consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences.
Now, as I pointed out to Dimitri, stopping the war after the meeting on Friday could be a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year. All of those things are after the meeting on Friday. So that doesn't necessarily mean that what Donald Trump is saying is a lie in the context of there will be severe consequences in 4 years if blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to point out that Donald Trump has no cards in this process. And it's very possible that what is taking place is he is playing to an audience. Taco, right? It's not that Donald Trump can just backtrack on issues of genocide or backtrack on issues of ending the war in 24 hours. Taco can also backtrack on, hey, I know I said these things to the Europeans, but now I'm going to make a deal because everything else is falling apart and I need to get something done because it's worse if things fall apart. Again, I want to nail down, this is not the United States trying to create a lasting peace. The United States pulls out of any agreement when it no longer suits its best interests. This is going to be true for this one also. They will pull out of this agreement also. At one point, Ukraine was supposed to be a neutral country. Ukraine is no longer a neutral country because Ukraine changed their constitution when the US helped overthrow the government in 2014. the moving an inch to the east, the Minsk agreements, 1 and 2, the Istanbul agreements, all of these things were lies. The JCPOA, all of these things were lies, pretending that you're negotiating the good faith and you turn around and attack Iran. All of these things were lies. We lie continuously. When it suits our interests, we will lie. Now, the rub is, I would imagine at this point, the Russian president knows this. I would also imagine that the Russian president cannot end the conflict short of his getting his core demands. Period. Meaning, I don't think Putin has the capability of ending the war on any grounds where the core demands of Russia is not met, any more than I know if Donald Trump can accept the demands of a Russian president. It's an impasse. Now, I get the sense that there has to be more to this meeting than just we're bros coming here sitting and just talking it out. There has to be some kind of context to this conversation that was established in advance. I have a hard time believing that they would just show up and just start chattering with one another randomly. That just seems weird to me. You could do that over the phone. You don't need to have a sit down. Usually sit downs are done when you have some kind of context of that sit down. Yes, they're going to talk about security architecture. Yes, they're going to talk about treaties and everything else. But as Putin pointed out, all of this is predicated on Ukraine first. I'm not signing any kind of deal with you. I'm not even talking about any kind of deal with you if we can't deal with the issue of Ukraine, because let's be honest, you are edging towards the brink of oblivion. And why would I put my missiles back when you are edging towards the brink of oblivion? You've overthrown a country. You're acting as if you are some kind of third-party negotiator. You are the principal component to this. Stop being silly. Now, from the standpoint of Zelensky, Zelensky has come out and effectively said, look, we're not held by anything that Trump comes up with in his negotiations. Like, ain't that cute? That's so adorable. That's so adorable. We're not held by any, they can talk about whatever they want. We're not held by it. Now, what he impressed or imparted to Trump, because apparently Zelensky made a beeline to Germany in order to be part of the meeting, bugging the hell out of everybody that's effectively around him, that, look, you should not make a deal that doesn't include Ukraine first, meaning you should talk to us before you make a deal. You're so adorable. You're so adorable. The European leaders, we don't believe that Putin wants a deal. Again, more mendacity coming out of Europe. We believe that you should not give up any territorial concessions. We believe this. We believe that. We don't think that you should move the lines, quote unquote, by force, completely ignoring the realities of how this conflict started. I can't tell if they've internalized the lies that they've effectively erected, or that they're that delusional. And I think it's a little bit of both. Because if they can't really see, if they don't have security assessments to see what's happening on the battlefield, if they can't see what is going to take place within a few months, they are more delusional than I think I've realized. It is very possible that they've internalized the nonsense that they've been seeding to their public, the Russophobia that have been coming out of them. And let's be honest, Nazis be Nazis, right? Especially from the standpoint of Germany. My point is very basic. The idea that your vassals matter in this process is absurd. Zelensky seems to have this belief that Donald Trump can't walk. Europe seems to have this belief that Donald Trump can't walk. And truth be told, I don't know how interested Donald Trump is in the Ukraine conflict. I strongly suspect that he really does want Europe to take over and deal with whatever is taking place in Europe, especially in the context of Ukraine, as the United States tries to pivot to China. If that is indeed true, and if indeed he does have a contempt for the Europeans, which I actually believe he does, yes, he may be buttered up because they call him daddy and all of this stuff. Fair enough. That doesn't mean the contempt has gone anywhere. And when you get J.D. Vance at an unguarded moment where he's like, look, we're sick of paying for Europe. We're not going to keep paying for this war. If they want to buy weapons from us, fair enough. But otherwise, we're out. That's contempt, right? I don't get the sense that Trump is wed to this. He's an American president, so he's grandfathered into it, and he's stuck with it in that sense. No, I don't think. Put it this way, if he's pushed, and I get the Europeans believe that they can push him to a certain amount because the US president can't necessarily just walk because he doesn't want to get called weak and he doesn't want to get called Donald Trump is responsible and it's his fault and Putin rolled him and Donald Trump gave up the ghost. Ukraine was winning the war up until the point that Donald Trump walked out. Trump may not want that, but he could do it. And if he actually gets something that is palatable to him, and he goes and says, this is what we're doing, and they bitch and moan and complain and say, oh, we don't want to do that. Oh my God, Donald Trump is doing this. Donald Trump is doing that. Daddy can leave. Daddy can always leave. I'm going to get some milk. Why are you taking your suitcase, Daddy? I'm just going to get milk. I'll be back. And you don't see Daddy for 20 years. That could happen. Meaning, for all of this pushing and complaining and saying, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that, and we expect you to do this and we expect you to do that. At the end of the day, what they know, even in the reporting, is that Trump could walk and Trump could blame the Europeans and the Ukrainians for not accepting the deal that he put on the table and do so. Say, look, I did everything I could. Tried to get a deal. They're all horrible people. They can go keep killing themselves for all I care. You're evil, horrible, disgusting people. I'm walking. Come to my golf course. I'm Trump. And leave. That is his leverage at the end of the day. Now, whether a US president can use that leverage is unknown. I've had plenty of guests on the show. All of these guests have different points of view on whether or not Donald Trump can enact and use that leverage. From my point of view, he could. Whether he would or not, that's the question. I don't know. I see my guest in the background. I think she's ready. I'm going to go to her. We're joined with the one, the only Sarah Bils.
Hi.
How are you doing? For some reason, your volume is very low. Is it just me?
Let's see. Volume? Volume is low?
There you are.
There we go.
That's
Okay.
better. No. That's better. That's much better. How are you doing today?
I'm
Welcome back.
surviving. I am alive. How are you?
Welcome back to America.
What a welcome back.
Yeah. Well, we don't know if you came back or not. We're very cynical here. We think that there was just some rando Iraqi that took pictures of you to pretend.
That
as if
was
you were-
really interesting, wasn't it? I was in Iraq and I was, of course, like checking in with people back in the States, and they're like, you know, that there's people here that said you're not even there. I was like, where did they think that I went? And they're like, Pennsylvania, and that you hired an Iraqi child to take pictures for you.
Now, why would you do that? That's the part that's always interesting to me when stuff like that come up. It's like, why would you? So it's like you're trying to create mystification.
Could
Is that
you
what it is?
imagine even lying that badly? Like, I couldn't even imagine, just even regardless about what it's about. I'm like, I can't imagine lying like that and then like creating an entire like
I just don't know why you would do it. Yeah.
what a place to lie about, right? Iraq. Why would I pick Iraq?
It's just weird. I don't
Probably
get it.
would
I
have.
don't get it.
I would probably would have picked an easier place to find a child to hire to get me photos. That would have probably, yeah,
Yeah, that's weird.
weird.
How was your trip?
Amazing, gorgeous, exceeded my expectations like tenfold.
Exceeded your expectations tenfold.
Yeah,
I can't tell if you have a tan or anything like that from here.
a little bit, just a little bit, but you can't really be outside that long. So
Brutally hot, I imagine.
it's about 140,
Are
between
you
125 and 140. Yeah.
serious? What? How do people function in that heat? I remember being in Egypt in Aswan, and it was like 114, and just you just couldn't function. Like you couldn't do. Like we literally stayed in the hotel the entire time. You just
But
couldn't.
there's
function.
no humidity, so it's kind of like as long as you can get from like the hotel to the car, like you're still dry, you're not sweating. Like there's no humidity whatsoever. It's almost, there were some points where I was like, oh, it's kind of nice to be outside right now. Like where it was like, I don't know. It wasn't really that bad. I've stayed in the Gulf for extended periods of time. It was nothing like that. The Gulf is like, I stayed in Bahrain and I used to get to about 105, but it was way more humid because of the location. It was just, but Iraq was very, very, very dry. So it really wasn't too bad. And these people have air conditioning outside. So like you can still eat outside. Like they will have air conditioners like surrounding their patios instead of fans. So you're eating outside and you're just sitting outside in the air conditioning. It's bizarre. It's so funny. But yeah, it was great. I would do it again and again and again. Yeah.
You don't get that much.
Portable air conditioners that they like move around so people don't get too hot. It's really interesting. Oh, I loved it. There is no, I've been to a lot of places. I've been to every continent except Africa and Australia Africa and Antarctica. I've been to Australia. Africa and Antarctica. I've never met people more generous or gracious. The generosity of Iraqis is absolutely unmatched.
Interesting. Okay. That's very cool. I'm glad you could go. I'm glad you made it back safely. Yeah, I don't know if I can ask you about the trip. So I'm not going to ask you about the trip.
Okay.
I'll let you write about it at some point because I haven't talked to you about it in advance. So
well, I will stream today. So for your watchers, listeners, viewers, I will stream today and go into a lot of detail, and I'll have Chris Halali with me, who was also on the trip. If people want to hear like a in depth, and of course I'll write about it. So that'll be today in 4 hours.
Now, can I ask why you were there?
Sure, I was there because the government they're in a very large rebuilding phase especially in Baghdad. So I went during this time of year specifically because it's Arba'in, which is the Shia Muslim pilgrimage. It's kind of like their Hajj, except for Sunnis, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong at any point, but for Sunnis, I believe that they can take their Hajj at any time. Arba'in is during a specific time of year. Okay. It's a commemoration of Imam Hussein and his kind of journey and his from Basra. Well, he actually journeyed from Saudi Arabia, but the Arba'in is usually contained within Iraq. So you start at the most southern point of Iraq, and then you walk all the way up to Karbala, and you walk to Imam Hussein's shrine, and you sort of pray. And the Imam Hussein was somebody who was very educationally oriented, culturally oriented. So there's a lot of children, there's a lot of learning. It was incredible. So I went to view that and I also, the government is upset, not upset, but the government is concerned that the only stories about Iraq in the West are kind of in the shadow of the war or in the shadow of what the United States did to them or what happened during the 2020s and the 2010s. And, there were times where they'd be like, do you know anything about this? And I'd be like, no, because nobody talks about it. I don't even think anybody knows about it. And that was their thing. They were like, we're rebuilding. Baghdad's a beautiful city now. It's nicer than where I live near Seattle. I felt safer in Baghdad. But it's being really built up with a lot of investments from Iraqi oil money, Qataris, and the Chinese. And they're like, we don't want to be looked at as like some desert wasteland. That it's not about money. It was more so about like, there's people here and like we have a culture and we're resilient and we're still here. And the stories that people tell are always the stories of victimhood or they're the stories of the PMF being terrorists because, they're still trying to make that link. Right. And that was another thing when I was there. They were very much like, we want people to understand that we are our own country and we are not just a group of Iranian proxies. We have our own agency. We make our own choices and we have our own money. And and I think you kind of only can understand that when you kind of see what's going on. It's not Iranian influenced at all. They don't have the same political goals. They don't have the same political ideology as Iran. they don't have even the same political ideology as Hezbollah, or they're not a resistance, or they call them, they're part of the axis of resistance. They're against Israel, but I wouldn't say that they're like in the axis of resistance like we would think of them. So they're a legitimate popular mobilization force. So stuff like that. Like it was like the kind of lifting this veil and getting rid of the confusion. And they do this sort of trip for journalists every year at this time because it lines up with Arbaeen, with a pilgrimage. So yeah, you get to kind of do both. So you see the government side, and then you see the really spiritual and religious side.
That's very cool. This is a bad transition. Afghanistan with the Taliban, where the Taliban are trying to get people to come for vacations. Have you seen those commercials? So the Taliban has these commercials where they would have Americans, and they start off the commercial with a guy being tied up, and then they're like, "Oh, we're just playing."
Stop
and
it!
It's like, whoa, that's intense. That's intense. And then they have people like shooting and playing with guns, pretending like they're being hostages. Like, also, it is wild. It is wild. Like,
was Lord Miles involved at all? Sounds like a Lord Miles adventure. I was supposed to go to Afghanistan in July, I think. It was for my birthday. I was going to go to Afghanistan on a trip, and I was like, I didn't see that commercial, but the things that I did see, I was like, I think I'm going to wait to go to Afghanistan for like at least a year.
I don't know if I would go to Afghanistan. I don't know if I got committed to the cause.
I canceled the trip.
Yeah, I don't know if I would make that. That's intense to me, man.
Well, it's actually a very good. A lot of guys that I know are going there because there's a lot of business opportunities. I just don't know about. I don't know. I do know one girl that drove through there on a motorcycle, and she was fine, but still, yeah, the guys are going there because there's a lot of mining and business and legal opportunities. So a lot of people are going there to sort of open up like that kind of thing.
I will wait for more modernity.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Kabul is kind of nice. There's hotels there, but it's not anything like even a small city in the United States. It's not built up yet, not to where you'd be all right.
I know, right? It's like, hey, they don't have any spas here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they do. The Taliban spa, that would be fun though.
No, they don't. Not typically, not in Muslim countries. I mean, it's not for men.
Yeah, you can. I think that they're actually getting more strict in Afghanistan. I don't even think they have.
They are. They don't allow you to play chess.
Oh wow. Yeah. See.
I flipped out on my channel when I heard. I was like, "Are you effing kidding me? What do you mean you can't play chess in Afghanistan?" The Taliban apparently took issue with it because apparently people were gambling when they were playing chess.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Well, gambling is obviously haram. Like that's obvious. But yeah, it sucks that they can't play chess. They can't play music. They can't play chess. I don't even know if they are allowed to have television in some parts.
Oh, see, I would have been arrested. I would have my music playing in the shower, singing.
Right. Well, those rules don't apply to us. Like that's.
Oh, they don't.
No. Like even even when I was in Iraq, like. I really didn't have to be covered in most places. I covered out of respect for the religious officials or whatever religious people. But
really?
yeah, I thought like even the representative of the government yelled at me. I said, I don't have hijab. I don't have any hijabs at my house. I only had kofiyas. I said, I'll bring a kofiya. Do you want me to wrap when I get off the plane as soon as I get into the airport? You know? And he was like, what the hell do you think this is? Afghanistan? I was like, I don't have to put it. He's like, no, you don't.
I am glad he said that.
Yeah.
Because what do you mean covering up? I would cover up out of respect. I don't know. Maybe this is me being my independence thing. It screws with me.
Oh, I don't mind covering. I actually kind of like it. It gives me an excuse to not do my hair. But like, yeah, I
like it so you can be a slob.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
wrong. I don't have to do my hair. It's so good. But yeah, it was really funny. They were like, he kept saying Baghdad is gonna be the Dubai of the Middle East. And I was like, but Dubai is the Dubai of the Middle East.
Right. That is very cool. I am so glad you enjoyed your trip. And it sounds like Iraq is, I understand where they're coming from. It's kind of like Sally Struthers. Like if you were an American, I don't know, 40 something. We grew up with videos of Africans hungry with Sally Struthers, overweight, saying these people need food. And you kept thinking, you can't give them anything. I mean, that kid is over there starving. You're like 300 pounds. But that's how we grew up with Africa, though. And so, that's not really Africa, though. Like when you actually go, it's cities, it's actual locations. But that's the thing that's in your mind. And it's in your interest to not have that point of view. And if you're Iraq, I would imagine that is in your interest not to have people have this point of view of a war-torn country, terrorism, ISIS, etc. No, I understand. That sounds good, though. I'm glad you're able to go. I'm glad Iraq is rebuilding. I'm glad they're in a much better place.
I mean, I went to Karbala. I was just actually, I Googled it while we were here. It's the largest, it's the second largest religious pilgrimage in the world. It's second to one of the Hindu pilgrimages. No, it's far larger than Hajj. And that's the thing, like nobody even knows that. And 25 million people, 25 million pilgrims converge on the city of Karbala, cities, I guess, of Karbala and Najaf. Some don't go all the way to Karbala, but most do. 25 million people. The food is free. The education is free. The entertainment is free. The drinks are free. Medical is free. And I was looking around. Like, no, right. No, there's no alcohol in Iraq. No, there's no alcohol in Iraq. But like to be hydrated. I mean, people are walking through the desert for 20 days. It's a 20-day walk from Basra to Karbala. It could be 17 to 20 days. And then there's the walk from Najaf to Karbala is 1 day. So there's like some people that can't do the full one will do the smaller one. And that is actually taking place today, the evening of the 14th into the 15th is Arbaeen. This is when it kind of culminates and comes to a close. But not to like drag your viewers down with a bunch of like educational stuff, but I think that the most important thing was that watching that 25 million people from around the world, they weren't just Shia. I saw Christian bishops. They were inside the shrine. Like there were Christians there were Yazidis there were Sunnis there. Everybody was there. I didn't see any Buddhists though, or Jews, guys. Sorry, but maybe they were there. But 25 million. This
might not be the place for Jews right now.
25 million people from all over the world, mostly Shia, and nobody got hurt. Nobody died. There was no shooting. There was no. I saw the kids fighting, but I didn't see any like world star. And I'm like, the United States could never. Could you imagine 25 people trying to do anything in the United States?
Depends on what it is. But it's different. I mean, the reason is different. Like it's a spiritual reason. Like for example, and this is a horrible example, but it's the closest thing I can think of. Okay, or the Vatican, for example. I was about to say Bernie Sanders, but the reason why I said Bernie Sanders, the one thing that I went for Sanders put me in the mind of the Vatican, where you have all of these people there for this, I'm going to call it politically spiritual reason, regardless of Sanders. Take him out of it. Just put a fixture there. Just Bob Cobb. Bob Cobb believes in these things in real life, right? Healthcare, education. We're going to stop wars. We're going to do all of this stuff. He's a true believer. And you have all of these people by the thousands, even millions, who are there, who are, it's almost like a religious experience. It's the closest thing to a religious experience that somebody's going to get that is more so in the political spectrum. The closest thing I saw to that was the Vatican, where all of these people flood into the place. My ex-wife and I didn't even know where we were. Like it sounds so stupid to say that. We were just kind of going with the flow of the crowd. We were just.
Are you Catholic, or were you just there for a visit?
No, we're just visiting, and we're just walking with the flow of the crowd. And we end up in this building. It's very nice, huge.
Oh yeah, everything in the Vatican is gorgeous.
And then we see the little Pope comes out the window. It's like, oh my God.
The little Pope.
Yeah, well, because the window is so tiny.
I know he's little, but you're so cute. You're like, the little Pope comes out.
Wait, the window is very tiny from where you are. Like you're looking way up into the thing. And there's like this little man, this little Pope comes out. And he's the good Pope. He's the Pope that I like. And all of these people immediately turn to the window, almost in unison. It's heady. It's a very weird,
that's what it was. It was like, it was surreal. Like,
yes.
Like I went 2 days because they're like, we really want you to like absorb it. The first time I went, it was at night, and I was like, this is really cool. The second time I went, it was daytime, and it was starting to get more crowded, and it was like that. It was like, it was so profound. And I felt like that at the Vatican too. I've been to the Vatican. And it's funny that you brought up the Vatican, because while we were going to Karbala, my driver, Sajad, he's like a photographer and a doctor. And he was like, "What religion are you?" Yeah, he was like, "What?" Yeah, they have to do things out of necessity. But he's like, what religion are you? And I was like, "Oh, I'm a Roman Catholic." And he was like, "Perfect, Roman Catholic, just like Shia." And I was like, "Yeah, it is kind of a little bit. We have pilgrimages, we have a lot of songs, we have a lot of spirituality. We're very outward with our spirituality." And I was like, "That's really interesting." And then we kind of got into more of a conversation about it. And he was like, "Yes, Catholics, we kind of compared to that a lot, as in like, you are our Christian counterpart to Shia." And I was like, that's kind of interesting. But yes, I felt the same sort of like you do at the Vatican. And I think that, and I'm not a really religious person. I'm not a Bible thumper or anything like that, but I do believe in the existence of God, and being at places like that, you're like, you can't deny that existence sometimes. You're just, something else is there that you can't really quite touch. There's something else there.
It's just a lot of people. It's just a crowd. And the crowd has a tendency to entrance other people's brains. Like if I'm watching Bambi die, I may feel sad.
You're so cynical.
There's reflector neurons in my head that that mirrors the fact that all these people are there. And again, it's crowd thing, right? Like, you've seen the tests where if you have like 10 people in an audience and you have an experiment where one guy is the control.
Yeah, but tomorrow they're flying out to Iraq to do this. It's not like they're following a crowd. They have to conscientiously get to Iraq from wherever they are and then start the journey. Like, it's not like they're like, "Oh, there's a line over there, we better get in it."
People believed that you were buying an Iraqi kid to take pictures. To pretend
Thank
you
you
were in
for
Iraq.
bringing me back down to earth.
I'm just pointing it out. People believe all sorts of things.
Even though
When I
they
was in
don't dwell on earth at all.
When I was in I remember I was in Egypt. No, I wasn't in Egypt. I was in I was in Egypt. Was it Egypt? I think it was Egypt. And I was in a cab with this female, and she said, the cab driver asked us something about religion. And I was about to say, "Oh, I don't believe in that." And the look that she gave me was like, "Shut up. Shut up. This is not the place. You're not in America. Shut up. Shut it. Shut it. Keep your mouth shut." Now, Catholic would have been fine. Muslim would have been fine. Anything else would have been fine. Saying, "I don't believe in that stuff," would not have been necessarily fine. And by the way, I'm not an atheist. So it's not that I'm atheist. It's just, the more I think the more specificity you put on it, the less accurate you get. That's all, if that makes sense. Like if somebody said, "Describe the color blue," and I'm trying to describe the color blue, I'm going to F it up. I'm not going to get it right. Especially if I'm blind. Hell, if you have sight, how do you do it? Oh. So, but that's not me denigrating, undercutting anybody else's religious belief. I have no feelings about it in that sense.
No, never.
Speaking of that, I've had my moments. I used to be worse. Speaking of that, you guys wrote an article, and I'm going to flip to it. And I know the audience is like, "Dude, that is a lot of wood to chop to finally get to this article." Fair enough.
I hope it's one that I wrote, because there's a lot on there that I didn't write. So I don't know what it is.
Okay, I don't think you wrote this one. But,
Okay.
But screw it. You just came from Iraq.
Mhm.
You talk about these issues all the time.
Sure.
I fully trust that you can hit it. The Coming Arab Century or The Final Burial.
Oh, the one from yesterday. Yeah, Taha, fantastic writer. He's from
A
Libya.
choice in the shadow of Israel's expansion. The tragedy of our age is not that enemies are strong, but that our unity is weaker than theirs. What a great point. What a great point. Israel is a country of, 8 million people?
Mhm.
You have a world community at this point that hates their guts and think they're filthy animals at this point, just filthy dogs that are murdering women and children. And yet you have these Arab leaders that are not just not doing anything about it, but is supporting Israel to create that greater Israel, which is amazing, even though greater Israel runs through their countries. So it's not like greater Israel stops in Syria or in Lebanon.
It goes
It
all the way to
also goes-
Baghdad. It goes to Baghdad.
Yes, it does.
Mhm.
And so the idea that these countries, Saudi Arabia,
It includes what,
UAE,
like a good large northern portion of Saudi, and then I think like UAE and obviously Qatar and Bahrain are unaffected, but I think there's a large northern chunk of Saudi as well, right?
yes, but those, yes, it does. But I'm pointing out that Jordan, UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all of these countries assist Israel. They were knocking down Iranian missiles when Iran was firing missiles. They were scheming. I don't believe for a moment Saudi Arabia is all of a sudden buddy with Iran. Maybe that's me being cynical. I don't buy it. I think all things being equal, they're like, hey, please just don't hit our oil fields.
Yeah, I don't think they like each other at all, really.
No, I think they would put on airs.
Oh, for 100%.
And putting on airs may have a positive benefit. But I guess I'm trying to make the basic point. You are supporting the murder of Muslims, Arabs, and you're standing by while they do this, while this takes place. You're giving them oil, you're giving them energy, you're allowing their pipelines to go through, you're giving them support, you're doing all of this stuff, you're giving them military support. And you can't even openly tell your own populations that you're doing it because they would be so angry at you that you're effectively doing it. But you're doing it, despite the fact that when they finish with these other countries, Syria, Lebanon, etc., they're coming back to you. This is the Anne Frank thing. I'm fascinated by it. I get the sense that the article is making the point of, look, either you're going to allow this greater Israel to be created, where they're going to create these Abraham Accords, where you're going to be effectively trapped second-class citizens, where the U.S. can flip on you in a heartbeat, just like they flipped on these other countries. Or you are actually going to stand up for something and have some level of a moral core, some level of loyalty to your own religion, your own ethnic, cultural expression. You have one or the other. Those are your choices. Give me your take on that. I mean, especially after just coming out of Iraq.
Well, it's funny you brought up Jordan, and I think Jordan's a good one to talk about because they're so complacent and complying. Even they're not just complacent. They do what they're told. There's a reason why, because Jordan is completely absorbed by Greater Israel. So why? Well, of course they're going to keep a subdued leader in there and keep that country down.
Yeah.
It was interesting talking to the Iraqis. They are very, I don't want to say apolitical. They're apolitical when it comes to outside of their country. They don't want to overthrow other people's governments. They don't like Jolani, but they said we still support the state of Syria. We don't want to remove Jolani. That's a neutral position, not in the supporting. They just don't want to balkanize Syria or add to the chaos. They're just not very like rah political in the sense that they say things like, oh, we want, like, Jolani is a bad leader or Lebanon needs to do this. They have opinions, but they're just not. They don't make them actionable. They're very much concerned about themselves, but in the sense that they understand that they're interconnected. We discussed the regional forces of Jolani and what they're possibly going to do and come to Iraq. And we also talked about Greater Israel. They are very much aware. Their kind of motto is they'll come back and we need to be ready. They're going to come back. And they're very much like that. You will not catch the Iraqis with their pants down like they've been able to with these other people. They understand what's at stake. And especially now that Baghdad and these places are being built up, I don't think you're going to see it's going to be even more difficult than it was in the early 2000s. The people that I spoke to were people that were either children or young adults when the Americans came. Do you think they're going to let them come back in? So it's a really, they're preparing for the worst, 100% preparing for the worst, but they're not preparing to be the aggressor, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But America's already still there. America
2,000 troops, yes. And they're very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Angry, annoyed.
The Americans, I don't know, but they're not allowed to, they're very isolated. They're only there as like a placeholder is what the kind of understanding that I got. I saw where the Americans are. I saw where they're stationed and where they work in the green zone and stuff like that. I mean, I know that area anyway, but I think they're mostly there as a placeholder because it's much easier to say we have 2,000 troops in there, let's add another 1,000, than it is to say we have 0, we need to throw 2,000 troops in there. So they're staying there as a just in case. I'm pretty positive.
Right. But if it's a just in case, it's also a just in case. If it's 2,000, then it's.
That's what I said too. I was like, if it's 2,000, that you know that tomorrow it can be 20,000.
Exactly.
They know that. They know that.
It also controls their politics on some level.
Yeah. Their government is heavily influenced by the West, but I think that they're a little bit more independent minded than people might think. Plus, they have different. It's not just you're not just talking to the office of the president. They have a religious council. They have a mobilization force. They have the Iraqi army. They have Iraqi security forces, and all of these people get a say at the table. So it's not just going to be a Western-leaning Iraqi president that says, "Oh, come in, Habibi, and do whatever you want." You're going to have to deal with all of these other factions that are going to say, "Absolutely not, absolutely not."
Okay. So if America decides we're going to put in 20,000 troops tomorrow,
I think
all
they're
of these people are going to get a say.
they're going to
They're gonna
see
say no.
worse than the early 2000s in terms of IEDs. Not saying that I know anybody that builds IEDs, but that's just what you're going to see. These people are heavily armed now. They have guns from all over the world. They can improvise devices. They have their own drones. They have jammers. They have everything there. It's not going to be like 2000. It's not going to be like 2003. You don't have a disenfranchised groups of people like you did under Saddam, right? You had the Kurds who were very disenfranchised, as well as the Sunni. And then, you don't have that. You don't have that sort of sectarianism. I met Shia Kurds, Shia Arabs. I met the Yazidis. They were all working together. I'm sure those divides could be exploited, but I don't think it's going to be the same situation that there was in 2003. That's only 22 years ago. That's quite fresh. It's not like they're coming in 50 years later. So I just don't think they're going to be as successful. They're well aware that Greater Israel actually slices through Iraq like that and just misses Baghdad, but it takes up at least 50% of the country. They're well aware of that. They know.
But the Americans let me ask you this, were they more well-armed, and as a country, with missiles and everything else with Saddam, or now? Obviously would have been with Saddam, right? I don't think America would have let them rearm.
No, they're armed.
Well, I don't doubt small.
You have to understand, they're not just a military. You have the PMF, which is a popular mobilization forces, which is literally just a civilian army. It's an army of volunteers. 3 million people volunteer for the PMF. They don't get their weapons through the government.
Do they have air defense?
Oh, yeah. They have air defense, jamming, and drones. Not that I think that they could withstand another air assault by the United States. I'm not like a crazy person, but I think that they could push back against it for sure and do some serious damage. I think they also have quite a bit of time before Israel does get into Iraq, if they do. I think that Lebanon's going to be quite the quagmire for Israel and the United States, politically especially.
Yeah. I guess my concern is that, look, I know I use this term filthy animals and laugh for a lot of people in this region. Yes, Lebanon is going to be a quagmire. Agreed. Mm-hmm. With 2,000 troops there, whether it's 2,000 or 10,000, I get the sense that the United States is not going to allow them to be in a situation to prepare for anything that's coming along the lines of something like Israel. And even if they wanted to go through in order to support or help, I get the sense that they're not going to be allowed to. Like, for example, when Iraq says it's time for the United States to leave, and the U.S. says,
no,
oh, ain't that cute?
Yeah.
What the hell is that? I know. Right? Like, what the hell is that? It's time for you to leave. We're passing a law saying you need to get the F out. And they're like, oh, look at them pass laws.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell, man?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
But that's also an indication that, okay, then we need to start preparing for the worst.
Can you do that with the U.S. being there?
Yeah, there's only 2,000 soldiers there that can't even leave the green zone. If they leave the green zone, they'll get kidnapped.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they're not. They're literally just there as sort of sitting ducks and placeholders. They don't really do anything but man guard stations, and they have air defenses there. They have a CRAM there. The Americans have a CRAM there. So
What's a CRAM? Just
the air defense system.
Oh, okay. Okay. You were in the military.
Stationary air defense system, usually at bases or installations.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Give me a take on the Arab thing. I mean, do you see that changing? I mean, honestly, the only time I see that changing is if America collapses.
What Arab thing? The Arab unity issue?
Yeah, because that is, I mean, they have Arab unity in the context of helping Israel, which is not Arab unity at all.
I think that we've really, and I think the Arabs, I might be overstepping my bounds a little bit here. I think that Arabs / Muslims have done themselves a disservice by utilizing Arab unity, which then allowed everyone else to paint them as a monolith. And so you have one group of Arabs that act, and you're like, oh, this is how the Arabs feel. There's a, even, you have your Shia Crescent, and obviously they tend to work together. But then you have the North Africans, and they tend to some lean towards the axis of resistance, some lean towards normalization. And I think that idea that it's a monolith has done. I don't know if it was deliberate, like a tool that the West sort of did. It was to paint them as a monolith, Muslims and Arabs in general. They even bring the Iranians in there. They're not Arab at all.
Persian.
And it's like, they did themselves a great disservice. So now they have Saudi, who is the loudest voice, and they kind of just speak for all of the Arabs. I don't foresee Arab unity coming together. What that includes the Gulf states. The Gulf states are on a different life path than the rest of them. Look at how are you going to sit here and say the people of Libya probably hold the same opinions as the people of Saudi? They're both Arabs. They're both Muslim. How can they? The people of Libya are still living through the results of the civil war we caused, and the people of Saudi are building casinos. Like, how do those two people have the same perspective on anything? They don't. But we're just expected to say, oh, the Arab League, or, oh, all of the Muslims feel this way. It's very detrimental, I think.
But I don't
think that they should think about Arab unity. I don't think that they should think about it along those lines. Arab is not a race. It's not an ethnicity. It's a language group. Are you guys grouping yourselves together and creating unity out of a language? Okay, but I think that they need to get away from that idea of Arab unity and unite along some other line.
To be fair, I don't know if they created that idea.
I don't know either. But I know that the idea of ummah is there, which kind of lends to that. But I do think that a lot of it is Western propaganda that sort of.
I think it's from the West. I think we're framing it with our context.
They're all the same.
If you're in the United States and it's like you lived through 9/11 and all of a sudden it's.
That's true, right? Remember when it was like, what's the difference if we bomb Afghanistan or Iraq? It's the same thing. Like,
same thing. We don't even. It's like those Iranians. They're just. It's like, dude, they're not even the same. They're not even the same.
That's exactly. Very good point.
I think it's that. Meaning, I think we're shaping a certain context, using American context.
And doing that now we're like brainstorming and riffing, but doing that actually erases the borders and kind of makes this even easier, right? Because it takes away the actual identity of each state. They're not Iraqis, they're just Arabs. They're not Lebanese, they're Arabs. They're not Egyptians, they're Muslims. You know what I mean? It takes away that and that's something that the West really hates is nationalism, because nationalism creates unity in the entirety of the country. So yes, I think you're right. I think this was a good brainstorming session. It helps to erase those. Yeah, that was good.
You can say that more. I think you're right.
Wait, I like when we do like a back and forth, because you always push back on me, and it's good because it gives me like that's a good. I didn't think of it that way.
Do it on purpose. It's just when I think you're wrong. I'm teasing.
All right, I'm getting off. Oh my God,
I'm teasing.
I didn't mean to do that.
Wait, before you go. One last story. If you have time, what time is it? Mm-hmm. It's 10 o'clock. Do you have about 15 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What's wrong?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So Serbia. I have a friend of mine professional friend, because there's usually a difference between those things. In Serbia, and I saw the images that were coming out. And I was like, holy shit, what the F? What is going on in Serbia? People are, it's like bringing them on the revolution. And he's like, yeah, it's a good thing I went to the beach. It's not as bad as it looks. And I said, yeah, pictures, they look pretty bad.
Oh,
What is going on in Serbia? And just to show some of the pictures,
yeah, go
and
ahead,
just
show them.
the toot your on DD Geopolitics. You guys do fantastic work. I don't think I said that today.
Yeah, we have a really good group of Serbs that we have Serbs in the diaspora and Serbs in country. So we get both of the perspectives.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know it was that bad until last night. Serbia's been protesting since 2024. We've done our best to keep it as neutral and just factual as we could, even though we're not anti-Vucic. I just don't really like the guy. But so we tried to keep it neutral. Last night, my co-founder area.
Wait, this is Belgrade. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's Belgrade.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Last night, my co-founder said Belgrade's getting really bad, and I was like, "Whoa!" And for him to kind of pull me aside and say that, I was like, "It must be pretty bad." That's Syria. It's further down, but anyway. So, and I saw the fires and stuff at Novi Sad. There was a lot of craziness in Belgrade. This is the culmination of a lot of things. People don't realize that small instances in Kosovo, Metohija, Albania, Serbia can actually have a huge cascading effect. There were a few people arrested in Kosovo, a few Serbs. That could cause a war. That's how
tense.
Yeah, tense everything is. I don't know if you saw my post from yesterday, but the alliance that has been forming, it did form there. Yeah, there you go. The alliance that formed is this interesting Catholic. I don't even know. It's the Croats, Albanians, Kosovo. I'm sure Bosnia will join in, and Bulgaria is supposed to be joining in, and they will be backed by the United States if a war begins.
Sorry, I'm flipping through. Please continue.
No, you're fine. And then last night we actually got into a conversation in a space about why right now is there so much aggression against Orthodox countries, Orthodox Christian countries. We have Armenia that's, I will expect at least partially, will be partially cleansed, ethnically cleansed in the corridor. That's the oldest Orthodox Christian state in the world. 301 AD it was established. It will be severely damaged if not wiped off the map after what Trump did. Serbia is another stronghold of Orthodox Christianity. They're being pushed into liberalism. They're being pushed into war. Russia is our obviously our largest. Greece has already been subdued and broken. They're no longer considered part of the Orthodox Crescent. Bulgaria is in NATO. It's just Romania is in NATO. And it's interesting that I don't think of things in religious terms because I'm not a really religious person, but there was a very strong Orthodox belt that ran through Eastern Europe into Asia, into Russia and Asia. And they are destroying that. And if you look at what Israel's doing inside of the Levant, they're destroying everything that is Christian. They want the Armenian Christian lands. They tore up the road to Damascus that's talked about in the Bible. This is a 2,000-year-old road, over 2,000 years old. Why did they rip that road up? Why? Because they want to. It's a very interesting what's happening. Serbia is the strongest cornerstone of Orthodox Christianity in Europe proper, and they want to destroy it. I don't know if those things are connected. I just kind of was talking about it last night and discussing it, how these Orthodox countries are very much under sort of assault. Or Orthodox peoples even, because the Armenians, they want the Armenians in Israel out. They want them gone. The Christians in Syria were systematically destroyed on purpose under Jolani.
But Israel is a racist country. And Jelani has been murdering even more Muslims than Christians.
Yeah, but even in Iraq, the United States knew that the Christians were being chased out of Iraq, and they allowed that to happen. Iraq had an enormous Christian population before the 2000 war, the war of the 2000s, and they're all gone.
I know, but the United States doesn't care about. I
Yes,
don't
they
know. Maybe
do.
I'm looking at this differently. You
Yes,
say
they
we
do.
do?
The United States very much cares about religion. Are you kidding?
No, I'm saying we don't care about Christians. We don't care about. We are perfectly okay if Jelani goes through and massacres Christians in Syria. We are perfectly okay if Israel murders.
Only certain
look how
kinds of
Israel-
Christians. Only certain kinds of Christians. I'm learning now. That last
Only certain
article,
kinds of Christians.
that last article that I wrote, I am absolutely learning now what these people believe ideologically. It is
What people believe.
conglomeration, the Americans and the people who are actually in charge, the elites. It's a conglomeration of weird religious ideology, evangelicism, and combined with this militant, like crusader imperialistic idea. It's not, look at Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee believes he's the ambassador in Israel for spiritual reasons. Pete Hegseth wants to be a crusader again. These aren't people that are really LARPing or like memeing or trolling. They believe this. They believe this.
Yeah, but they don't let this stuff get in front of their own political objectives. Like,
But
they're
it doesn't get in front of it because it goes right along with it.
But you just made the argument that they were decimating Christian areas. Both things can't be true. It has to be one or the other. Either they have to believe in this kind of Orthodox Christianity and everything else. My point of view is that they're going after political objectives meaning in a geopolitical sense. So we need to go after Russia, Serbia.
They coincide.
They coincide.
Yeah. Read. You still haven't read Clash of Civilizations, I can tell. It's in there.
The reason that what? Did you just mic drop?
I think so. Actually, my camera is having so many issues. But go ahead.
She's like, you didn't read it. It's in there. Mic drop. Look, nobody would be messing with Serbia if Serbia wasn't associated with Russia.
But why are they messing with Armenia?
Because Armenia at some point was affiliated with Russia also. I mean,
no, that's not why they're messing with Armenia. Come on now. Because of
they're
Russia?
not affiliated with them now. I give you that.
Serbia is not affiliated with Russia. They sell weapons to Ukraine and Israel.
Come on now.
That Serbia-Russia thing is a total, like, that's propaganda. They're close, but they're not nearly as close.
Don't buy that. That is
When's
not.
the last time you've been to Belgrade? Those people don't want much to do with Russia.
I disagree with that.
Sorry, but you're wrong. It's very much
like the way
it's very much something that we kind of play up online. We call it kanging. It's very much kanging. It's just people just wanting that to be true, so we say that it is. It's not true.
Russia doesn't seem.
Russia will not protect Serbia in this instance.
Oh, I'm not saying Russia will go to war for Serbia. Well, they won't go for it again as they did the first time around. But I'm pointing out
they didn't even do enough the first time.
What are you talking about? You mean the First World War?
No, I'm talking about the wars in Yugoslavia.
Well, they couldn't do anything in that situation. I mean, they were kind of hobbled. Come on. The Yeltsin years. The buy me a beer, Yeltsin, who was drunk most of the time.
Yeah, he was pretty drunk.
Yeah, what were they supposed to do? I mean, I have a sentimental feeling for Gorbachev. I despise Yeltsin.
I don't have any good feelings for Gorbachev.
I know a lot of people don't. Because they think he
sold out the USSR for a Pizza Hut.
It wasn't a pizza. Okay. I'm not gonna look. Every Russian that I've spoken to has been like, "Fuck that guy."
Yeah, fuck that guy.
As an American, we need dreamers. We need people like that. You made this.
No, we need nationalists. That's what we need right now. No more dreamers. Stop being shit libs. It's time to get serious, or we're going to lose the Armenians.
Yeltsin was a nationalist.
Syrian Christians.
Yeltsin was a nationalist. Boris Yeltsin, buy me a beer. Boris was a nationalist.
Boris Yeltsin was a vodka enthusiast. I don't even know.
And a nationalist who wanted singular Russia
with no territory.
I'm just pointing out he was a nationalist. You said we need nationalists. Gorbachev was a dreamer. Agreed. And he was a sucker. Agreed. I postulate all this. I'm honest about my feelings on this. But we need that. Imagine a world of just cynical people who are just cutthroat, as opposed to somebody who's like, we can do better. We can make peace. We can have world unity. We can have world harmony. And I get that the U.S. was like, yes, yes, the sucker. We're going to go after him.
Yeah, we need dreamers. They really help, right?
Kind of.
No.
If you have people on the same page.
The breakup of the USSR was the singular largest tragedy of geopolitics in the last century, period. And that includes both world wars.
I did say if everybody was on the same page.
What? You live in a fantasy world.
I said if everybody's on the same page. I'm postulating. Look, I agree with you that Gorbachev royally fucked up. Agreed. You have my complete and deepest agreement. He got it wrong, and it failed miserably. Agreed.
There's a time and a place to dream. There's when there's times and places to dream. There's when you're in certain positions you can dream. Then that was not the position.
Then I agree with you.
You know, I agree with the idea that we need dreamers, we need innovators, we need people that think outside of the box. We need we need some people that are a bit utopian in their views. And I do agree with that because it balances out the cynicism and things that are horrible. But there's a time and a place, and there's a time and a place to get serious. Like right now we have, I think you could say Trump's a bit of a dreamer with all of these peace talks. Now is not the time to be a dreamer when it comes to Russia, Ukraine.
Wait, what do you mean he's a dreamer? I think he's cynical as all hell. I don't think
Why? I haven't been updated, but before he was like, Putin doesn't stop by the 8th, or we can get him to stop. And now he's saying, no, he can't get him to stop, right?
Kind of. I mean, he's now out making threats again, saying, oh, there are going to be severe consequences if so and so and so and so.
For whom?
Why do you think he's a dreamer? I'm curious. And by the way, I agree with you on Gorbachev. That was not the time and place.
I think Trump doesn't even dwell in reality.
Dig into that. I need to know what you mean by it.
Well, he thinks he created peace in Pakistan, India. He didn't. He thinks he ended a war between Serbia and Kosovo that didn't exist, even though we're on the precipice of a huge war in Yugoslavia, the Balkans.
At 3 a.m. between Trump and his guy, do you really think he believes that?
I don't think that. I think he's senile.
That may be true. That may be true.
I think he's on his way. I think he's on his way that way. I think he's
habitual.
I do believe he believes a lot of his delusions of grandeur. I believe he's a narcissist through and through. I do believe that he believes a lot of these delusions of grandeur. 100%. Absolutely.
I can't fathom that. I just think
absolutely. These people are sociopaths. They believe. That's why they succeed so well in business. But that's why they're so great at business. They believe their delusions of grandeur. They become self-fulfilling prophecies.
That's mostly because they don't have a conscience. That's not necessarily because they believe it. There's a difference. Like, you could be right. I don't know. I don't know what's in his mind. But I'm more curious about, God damn it, Sarah. Every time we have this conversation. All right, I'll let you go. I'll let you go. I want to hear your take, but I'm going to let you go. Because
we'll talk about it again and again and again. We will. We always do.
Well, we haven't talked about this because you were gone at the time with it. And we spent, I think, 40 minutes talking about the Iraq trip. I'm going to let you go. I'm not going to be an ass. I'm not going to hold you.
You're never an ass. Stop.
But I want to know what you mean by the dreamer thing. Because I don't think he's a dreamer.
Trump believes his delusions of grandeur. I absolutely 100% think he believes them.
I think Donald Trump is functioning as a U.S. president. And as a U.S. president, he realizes in very concrete terms, Ukraine is falling apart, and it is going to be deeply humiliating if the front collapses in a month or two, and I'm holding a bag for this. And the Europeans are delusional. I need to get something done now. That's what I think is happening. Now, whether he can get something done, whether he can accept a deal from the Russian president, who knows? Who knows? I think it's going to be very difficult for a U.S. president to accept effectively a surrender document from the Russian president. But who knows? If it's between...
Oh, the delegation just came out for who will be at the United States-Russia summit. This should be incredible. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, and Steve Witkoff. So 2 real estate agents, a Gusano, a tech bro, and Donald Trump. Good. I'm sure the Russians should do very, very I'm sure the Russians will love this. They're
Maybe
going to run
Putin.
circles around. It's Putin and Lavrov are going. I don't even need to say the rest of the delegation.
Yeah.
They're going to
And a
just
bunch of other
run
trained
circles
diplomats.
around the Americans. Like, look at these people.
Sarah, I'm going to let you go.
I'll
were
get my
fantastic.
debate ready for next week when we talk about why Donald Trump believes his delusions of grandeur.
Thank you. Thank you.
You'll come prepared.
Sarah Bils, a host and creator of DD Geopolitics. Check them out. It is a fantastic outlet. They are great. I wanted to get the information about Iraq, and we were going to do that on StreamYard. I can't do it until I close the show.
Okay.
If you give me like 1 minute, I will close the show.
I'm around. Yeah. Or you can text or call me. I don't care.
You said you didn't want to do that by text.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, let's do it on
Give me
StreamYard.
1 minute. I will close the show.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you in a minute.
All right. I'm going to close this because there's information that I want that didn't feel comfortable giving me otherwise. Let's go to what is this? Hypothetically, how would you think, I can't see this. Hypothetically, how would you think Pike's World War III, World War III prediction of the world between Jews and Muslims will happen given current events? Is there a setup that people are missing? Wait, what do you mean Pikes? I don't know what Pikes is. Hypothetically, how would you think Pike's World War III prediction of the way between Jews and Muslims? I don't think there needs to be a World War III between Jews and Muslims. I mean, I'm not that cynical. Look, if in the conversation that we were just having, if you notice, the Muslim countries have been supporting the Jewish Israel. How is that a World War III between Jews and Muslims? Now, you could say Iran, and you could say a situation where Iran and Israel go back and forth. Well, Iran doesn't have a nuclear bomb because they're moral, and they don't necessarily, they feel some kind of way, or they think Allah feels some kind of way about them blowing up hospitals. Fair enough. It's kind of difficult to have World War III in that context, unless you're adding in Russia, China, North Korea, maybe Pakistan, etc., coming to their defense and their assistance saying, if you fire a nuke, that's your ass. With the US getting involved, kind of like a First World War thing. Like if you're talking about the First World War, for example, where Austria-Hungary decides it wants to take Serbia down a peg. And you get, what is his name? The Black Hand. I can't think of his name. It'll come to me in a moment. Killing the Duke, Arch Ferdinand. And you get Austria-Hungarian saying, it's your fault. You did it. It's your fault. And Serbia's like, it's not our fault. We didn't do it. We didn't have anything to do with the terrorist group. Nope. It's your fault. It's your fault. Knowing full well, in historical context, that it wasn't the Serbian government. You get a Serbian government that agrees to do any and everything to not have that fight. And yet, it doesn't matter. There was one provision that would have effectively removed sovereignty. They said, this one, we need to talk about this one. The other ones are okay. And it didn't matter. You had an empire that effectively wanted to teach an upstart a lesson. Serbia goes to his big brother, Russia. Russia says, I got your back. Austria-Hungary goes to Germany, so I got your back. And you get this buildup because of how huge Russia is. And you get the blank check from Germany, which it's not even sure there was a blank check. I mean, what is it, Bismarck? Not Bismarck. Is it Bismarck? I haven't hit this stuff in such a long time, but he goes on vacation and supposedly gives a blank check when going on vacation. Long story short, doesn't matter. My point is, you can get the situation where you create this whirlwind where you're dragging other countries into it because of the political alliances associated with those other countries. Is it in Russia's and China's interest if Iran goes belly up? No, it's not. Is that worth them getting into a conflict in order to defend the integrity of Iran? Maybe. If it is in their best interest to do so, would that drag the US into a larger conflict in order to defend? Maybe. You have lunatics who are in charge of the country, right? What does Europe do the moment that Russia gets involved? I'll begin my point. Do you get other countries like Philippines and Australia and all of these other countries near China? Do they get involved the moment that China gets involved in order to defend the integrity of Iran? Like, you can create a whirlwind effect based on just the mechanics of what takes place between Iran and Israel, depending on how committed everybody is in that process and how willing all of them are to die. This is not 1918 or 1917. You have nukes. The moment that you have nukes, everything goes up because nobody wants to lose a war. And at the end of the day, I can always pull my gun if I'm losing a fight. So, I mean, you can kind of see it. I mean, that's grim, but you can kind of see it. Pink Rose, Trump is going to beg Putin for the war to be over. Trump is a petty man. And even when Trump is in a weakened position like he is in war, I would imagine that a petty man is going to have a hard time doing that. Will he bluster? Yes. Would he bluff? Yes. Would he try to make an offer? Yes. Will they wrangle and haggle? Maybe. But at the end of the day, Russia can always afford to keep going. I don't know if the US can. Meaning, if Russia says, yeah, okay, we don't need to have these negotiations, they're perfectly fine. They can keep going. If Trump says something stupid, Putin can go back home. All right, but just keep going. They'll be fine. The issue and the crisis point is happening for Ukraine right now, whether Europe is too delusional to really get it. I get the sense that the United States on some level gets it. It is humiliating, deeply humiliating for the leader of NATO to be in a situation where the Ukrainian front collapses. And that is after you put hundreds of billions of dollars, all of that weapons that they just wasted, all of the intelligence, all of the lives, all of the stuff is just wasted. And you get a country that is on the brink, seemingly, of collapse. That's humiliating, especially if it falls down. Between it collapsing and between you coming up with some kind of deal, even if it's not necessarily the best of deals, which one do you think is better? Obviously, a bad deal. Now, the rub is that I don't get the sense that Russia, hopefully, Putin is not silly enough to agree to anything under the belief in the United States. Hopefully. We'll see. But Pink Rose, maybe, from your mouth to God's ears. And from your mouth to God's ears, I'm sick of this war. Even if it's a ceasefire, I'm sick of this war. I don't want Putin to do anything that's not in his best interest. So let's be very clear. Nor do I want him to do anything where it gives this sense that the US was able to get out of this without a clear, unabiding, complete, overwhelming, radical loss. You started a war that got over 1 million people killed. It needs to show that you failed and failed on an epic fucking level. Diane Thomas, Jamal, it was a good, great eat show. Always enjoyed your guests. You have a good day. Oh, thank you for that. I don't think it was the greatest show, but I do appreciate it. Let's say Raphael, or let's just say Old Man Anciano. I do not simply love Sarah. I adore this woman. Sarah is fantastic, isn't she? Sarah is fantastic. Adore sounds a little strong. It sounds a little weird for me to say that as a professional relationship. But yeah, she's cool people. I like Sarah. Manny Rose, Serbians like Russians. I was with NATO K4 2000. Were you? All right. We have come to the end. I want to thank all of you. I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to say like, I'm going to say share, I'm going to say subscribe. You guys are fantastic. I will see you bright early tomorrow morning. Who do I have tomorrow morning? I think I need to book tomorrow. Oh, I have Gerald Celeste. Yeah, I have Charles Celeste. He's going to be on at 9:30. Ted Rawl is going to be on at 9. I need to book for 8. Otherwise, you all have a fantastic day. I hope you guys are doing great. And I'll see you tomorrow. You be safe, be kind to the degree that you can be kind. Signing off, guys.